and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Cynthia Freeland an hour from now, NFL Network analytics expert. Get her thoughts on this Chiefs team, the AFC overall, and a number of things moving forward. The Buffalo Bills as well. We'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs today around 11:45, 11:50 or so. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and players. We'll see if Chris Jones is at the podium yet again today. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I think last week even Todd was told the usual today, Patrick, Andy, and Chris Jones. So maybe that will be the usual moving forward. We'll find out. But Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, we know they will both go today. And I think there are some still unanswered questions that Andy and Patrick will get today, as opposed to other Wednesdays when it's like, let's see what they'll come up with and talk about. This one, to me, has a little more intrigue because of, things we talked with Adam Teicher about yesterday. Adam Teicher was like, I didn't get a chance to ask him about the 2-point conversion because a lot of other things happened, and he only talked for 3 minutes, and he wasn't in a great mood. But the 2-point conversion, to me, is an interesting decision because that is not the usual MO of an Andy Reid to be aggressive like that. We know he typically will not go for it on 4th downs, and he's not one to, quote, chase points. Is that a change in mindset from Andy Reid saying, drives and points will be at a premium today? I better get my points right now while I'm here. If I can get 2 points from the 3-yard line, I'll take it. As opposed to just a guaranteed 1, because Harrison Butker has not missed this year. But a 2 points from the 3-yard line, I'll take it. If the offense was scoring 30-something points per game, would the score have been 14-13 at that point? I don't know. That's the mind of Andy Reid that somebody would have to get inside of to figure those things out, but he'll be asked about that today. I think Patrick Mahomes might be asked about the play, the interception that took place. I'd love to know if that was an RPO, because it seems like everybody says that's an RPO. Again, as I said yesterday, I don't think straight drop-back passes have Creed Humphrey 2 yards down the field and Trey Smith sprinting towards a linebacker and Kadarius Toney coming down to block a linebacker. It's not typically what you see happen. And a lot of other things, obviously, to get into talk about. I'd love to know if Andy Reid heard from the league on the fact that that was a brutal no call. Not that it will make a difference, but I do wonder if the league actually ever admits subjective call errors. There are objective call errors that they admit.
They've allegedly admitted them to the Colts before, according to Jim Irsay.
That's right. But that's a good point. But I wonder if they ever reach out. But there's a lot of other things as well to hear from this team as they get set for a huge game against the Bills. It's interesting how this season has gone along because before the season started, this was a massive game. As the season has progressed and the Bills' injuries and their struggles, it looked like less of a big game. Now it's turned right back into a huge game for different reasons, but it is still a massive game coming up this weekend. The Chiefs 2.5-point favorites. That the total jumped 1.5 from yesterday. Also, as an aside, from yesterday to today, Mizzou went from a 1.5 dog to a 1.5 favorite now against Ohio State. They are now a 1.5-point favorite against Ohio State. They were 3.5 when the bowl came out. Then that was Monday, and then yesterday, so Tuesday, they were a 1.5-point favorite, and today they're a 1.5 point dog. Now they're a 1.5 point favorite over Ohio State. So that's kind of interesting. K-State dropped a point against NC State. 4.5 point favorites, 3.5 point favorites. KU been right around Well, they've moved a point over UNLV, 11.5 to 12.5. So there have been some movements this early on. I wonder if it'll stabilize for a couple of weeks, and then it'll get back into movement as well. So we'll see. So we will talk with Cynthia Freeland. We'll hear from the Chiefs. We will hang out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director. We'll talk with him. K-State, just count on 45 minutes of basketball. If you're going to go out there to Bramlage, you're getting 45 minutes of basketball. You're getting extra value. Jerome Tang wanted the fans to come out, and, he knows it's cold, but there's, it could be cold outside, but what's worse is a gym that's missing seats, a cold gym. Well, the fans got a lot of enjoyment last night in a 1-point win over Villanova, 72-71 in overtime, because that's just simply what K-State's going to do. I'm going to guess their trip to LSU this weekend on Saturday is going to be an overtime game.
You probably start betting on this and just go ahead and
bet on overtime.
Those
right
are usually pretty good odds.
Yeah.
I mean, will game go to OT? Is usually plus a lot.
The world would end if they placed a line for a college basketball game the day before or 2 days before.
Yeah, sorry, great point. You can, if you can really nail the window from about 12:20 to about 12:25. In a few days. That right there, that's when you get your overtime bets in.
It's unbelievable. I know there's probably a reason. I don't know. I think it's dumb. If there is a reason, I'm sure there is. Look, college basketball is hard to predict, which is why we never, ever, ever try to predict an entire month of basketball. I mean, that would be ridiculous. No one would enjoy that. The one saving grace has been KenPom. KenPom's algorithm has been very close to what the line ends up opening up at, and he's got K-State as a 1-point win, 53% probability, a 1-point win there at LSU.
Smells like overtime to me.
That's exactly right. 73-72. They won last night, 72-71. Tyler Perry, starring in Medea Hits the Game Winner.
There it is.
It was a dumb tweet I put out last night.
Not a dumb tweet. I didn't see it. If I would have seen it, I would have retweeted it.
It got the minimal reaction it deserved.
Really disappointing. I don't want you to be getting gun shy about Tyler Perry jokes.
I'm not. And
you know
what?
Keep shooting.
I should be
much like Tyler Perry. I need you to keep, even if there are some stinkers, I need you to keep making that content.
Keep firing, man. He didn't have the best game from behind the arc.
I meant the actor.
Damn it. Both.
And
then.
director, yes.
Whoa, and director, and writer.
Sorry. Bastion of cinema. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah.
I did not mean to be reductive.
Yeah, he plays a lot of different roles. Tyler Perry played a lot of different roles, and both of them at times struggled. And then sometimes they put out some hits. And last night was a big one there for Tyler Perry and the K-State Wildcats to get the win there over Villanova as a top 40 KenPom team right now. So I mean, look, the all of the rankings and everything as the season goes along, and we'll see some of those things as they're released and all that stuff. But as we've said before, it is an incomplete picture whenever the college basketball stuff comes out. It's like this is used to be RPI back in the day, right? And now you've got quad ones and quad twos and quad threes. And I've said before, when they released that first one, people are like, "How is Jefferson State number 4?" Well, there is one happy little tree on the Bob Ross painting right now. Okay, that's it. Let the painting happen, and at the end of the season, you'll see the full picture. So 913-912-4810, that is how the show lines up today, what we'll be talking about, getting into tonight. Bethany Bowman, she's on the mic at 6 o'clock, Sporting KC show, 7 o'clock, home stretch with Sterling Holmes tonight at 8 o'clock. That's how the day goes as well.
Or what if we just called all them in right now? We got Stu and Bethany in here right now. What if we just randomize the rest of the day? What if we just maybe Bethany does 10 to 11, maybe Stu does 11 to 12, maybe we just kind of do 2 to 4, and we can throw the program in there somewhere. No, because we are gonna have to close out the day. I think Zone's gonna go 8 to 10 tonight. Is Seren here? Can we get them to start early? Maybe
Curtis is here. He can take over.
Curtis can hop in for a couple hours. Let's just randomize it all. That'd be fun.
Adam's got to be here somewhere.
Adam, you're in.
Christian Kirk also going to go undergo core muscle surgery. Expected to be out 8 weeks. Also, by the way, we may get an update on Brian Cook today. So
hopefully,
Andy Reid was vague on Monday. Just he's had some work on that ankle, and they're looking into those things, and not going to give you any information right now that he does not know. Let's get into the show. 913-912-4810. The MLB Draft Lottery is awesome, man. I freaking love it. I think it's great. And when it first came out, you heard it right here, how much I loved the idea of the Draft Lottery on the show. I mean, we talked about it at the time, like this is a really good idea for Major League Baseball. They should embrace this. They should do some sort of crazy. How do you keep teams from tanking? I mean, I don't have any clue, but they came up with the lottery, and they have solved the greatest riddle in sports right now is to eliminate tanking, and they have done that by having a team that, checks notes, had a sub-90 payroll and sold at the trade deadline with the number 1 pick in the draft. They did it! They did it, everybody! They did it! They figured it out! The team with an $89 million salary to start the year and traded off their pieces mid-season has the number 1 pick. They figured it out, everybody. They've done it. They've done it.
At least
it's
it's not
fixed.
like a team with the winning record picking second, right?
It's
That didn't
fixed.
happen?
Yeah, but
Oh,
see,
hold on. Hey, it might be fixed. You actually might be onto something.
They weren't tanking, though. The Reds
Right.
were not tanking.
That's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. They were 82 and 80.
Sure.
Now, they did start the season with an $82 million payroll, which is $10 million less than the Royals.
Uh-huh.
But they weren't tanking. They went into this,
and you're right. And
they went in the season saying, we're going to do whatever it takes to win.
That's exactly right.
We're going to spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. And they showed that by having an $82 million payroll, $10 million less than what the Royals had. You know, the organization and the fans that think the owner is cheap.
It's not like the number 2 overall pick went to a wholly unserious organization who's been, by and large, a laughingstock for the better part of the last 20 years. That hasn't happened.
No, never taken place. So the draft lottery, if you have not heard, maybe you don't care. I don't know.
Man, if you haven't heard, sit down, maybe pull over.
So the Royals had the one of 3 highest percentage chances, tied for first, and the highest percentage chance. Rockies, A's, Royals. The 3 worst records have an 18.3% chance of winning the lottery, and neither of them, or none of them, since there's 3, none of them finished in the top 2. Mm-hmm. The Rockies finished where you would think maybe they would be because they would finish in the top 3. Mm-hmm. They get to pick 3rd with the highest percentage chance of winning the lottery.
And the 3rd worst record. So, like, that's
right.
They would have been
right there.
There without a lottery.
Right.
Yep. All right.
The A's would have the number 1 pick in a regular draft. They have the number 4 pick.
Oh.
The Royals would have the number 2 pick, and
cool.
they got the number 1. Oh, wait. They got the number 3. No, they got the number 5. Royals will pick 6th. They did show up in the lottery.
Yep.
So they got one of the top 6 picks. So there you go, everybody. Top 6 pick for the Royals. They did it. They did it by finishing with the 2nd worst record. They have the 6th pick in the draft. This is awesome. They have really solved the issue, have Major League Baseball. And I'll tell you what, I've always said, if there is one professional sports league that's really, really well run, it's Major League Baseball.
It's Major League Baseball. We've often said this.
They continue to come up with really good plans to make sure that teams, one, don't tank, competitive balance, right, parity.
The most well-balanced sport.
It's unbelievable what they've done. All right, sarcasm aside. If you were listening when they announced the draft lottery, Major League Baseball here on the show, you know that I thought it was one of the dumbest things I'd ever heard. Thought it was stupid. Told you the issues at the time. Also, the pessimism part of it said, well, don't worry, because the Royals will continue to get screwed by the lottery. And that's not even why I don't like it. Even if the Royals were to win the lottery, I would still think it's dumb. The Guardians are supposed to pick 9th. They're picking 1st. The Reds are supposed to pick 13th. They're picking 2nd. How is that good for the league? You want to eliminate tanking. Here's my question then. Do they stop the trade deadline at the end of July? What do you call a team that sells off their best players for the future? What do you call a team that is sacrificing wins right now for the long-term health of their organization? What do you call that? Strategy. What do you call that? Smart business. What do you call that? Tanking. No. That's not tanking. No, that's just smart. They are not tanking. They're not
rebuilding.
Exactly.
They're retooling.
Building for the future.
Like a smart team.
That's what good organizations do. Bad organizations, poorly run organizations, greedy owners, they tank. And they collect their revenue sharing. And it's bad for the sport, the competitive balance. Fans aren't going to buy tickets to go out there if they know their team isn't trying to win. They're not going to do that in August and September. I mean, it's completely hypocritical to say that you're trying to eliminate tanking, but you celebrate the trade deadline. You've got hours and hours of MLB Network, your network, that covers 24 hours, every single second, every single morsel of information must be released to the general public about the trade deadline. Teams that are buying and selling. The hell do you think selling is? It's selling your best players. And you get the best players the higher you draft. Typically, yes, you can find Mike Trout later in the draft, but you also find Jackson Holliday number 1. The Royals didn't find Bobby Witt with the 12th or 15th or 3rd round pick. They found him at number 2 when it was like a 2-player draft. And the Royals had the 2nd pick in a 2-player draft. And they got Bobby Witt. Well, they'll take whoever's up there at number 1. You know, whoever's available at number 2. If it's Bobby Witt, hey, you get the high school shortstop, and this kid can be one of the best players, we've seen, has all the tools. And if not, okay, great. You get Adley Rutschman. That's fine, too. And they got Bobby Witt. And after that, Andrew Vaughn, J.J. Bleday, Riley Green, nice player for the Tigers. C.J. Abrams, nice player for the Padres. I mean, Josh Young has been really good for the Rangers as a third baseman. These are guys that were drafted after. Shea Langoliers, or Bangoliers, as the catcher that just mashes home runs, and that's kind of all he does. You got a 680 OPS with 40 home runs. How does that happen? Baseball. Well, you're not even a 3-result guy. You're a 2-result guy. Home run or out. And Alek Manoah at one point was like a steal until he forgot how to play baseball.
That was weird.
You can find some guys later on. But the 2 best players from that draft went 1 and 2. That's not how it is every single time. But it is hard for you to say, I don't really care about the draft or the lottery, too bad, figure it out, and then celebrate Bobby Witt on the Royals.
That's right.
Because had they picked 3rd, they wouldn't have Bobby Witt. They might have Andrew Vaughn, and I'd rather have Rick Vaughn. That's probably not true.
I'd rather have Mo Vaughn.
Yeah, Andrew Vaughn's a fine player. He's a fine player. He started out slow, but he's actually a fine player. Andrew Vaughn is. He wouldn't be the worst player on this Royals team. He'd actually be pretty good. I mean, he's OPSing at like 750, which would be pretty good. But he's not Bobby Witt, right? He's not a guy that put together, almost a 50-30. A phenomenal year for Bobby Witt. What did he finish in MVP voting this year? He finished 7th. 7th in the MVP this year, Bobby Witt. I mean, that draft, by the way, had the 7th and 9th picks for MVP voting went 1st and 2nd in that draft. Adley Rutschman went 9th and Bobby Witt went 7th. Not 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. It made no sense at the time. They make decisions that they want to help out the day-to-day baseball, right? You eliminate the shift. You put a runner at second in extra innings. You have a mandatory 3 batters for a reliever unless he ends an inning. You've got these things. You implement the DH universally. You've got these things that they are doing for entertainment game by game. But their bigger picture is lost in how do you make the teams better year to year if you had full revenue sharing, if you fought for some sort of a cap. And I know the Major League Baseball Players Union won't do that. But this is a sport that thinks by taking away the higher picks for the worst teams is going to eliminate teams saying, the best strategy for us is to get talented, cheaper players. And then if we need to rebuild, we can trade those stud players for better players. I gotta go back and look. Did Major League Baseball take away a draft pick from the Nationals for trading Juan Soto? Because they certainly got worse without Juan Soto, but they got a lot of prospects. Almost like playing terrible baseball to get high draft picks.
And I don't know if you've had this. I apologize. I was setting up a little bit.
You're fine.
But this take of it also hurts the fact of the trade deadline in the aspect of why would I trade away my ticket horse here that gets all the ticket sales at the deadline when I can maximize that, and it doesn't really help me in the draft at all to do that.
Right. I'm gonna. You finish in the top 3. Like the chances. I saw this stat. The odds of Cleveland with a 2% chance of winning the lottery, and the Reds with a 0.9% chance of winning the lottery, finishing first and second, was 5,000 to 1. A 0.02% chance of those two picking first and second. You know what should have been 100%? A's 1, Royals 2, Rockies 3. It's what it should be. And the A's, by the way, next year cannot pick in the top 6 because they have been in the lottery 2 years in a row.
Well, neither.
No, the Royals were a lottery percentage, but they didn't finish in the top 6 last year. You have to beat the lottery's top 6.
Okay, I saw people saying that's better, I guess, because we were in the zone of wondering.
Hey, yeah,
we were in the zone.
At one point, when there was a misunderstanding,
no draft picks to waste.
When there was a misunderstanding of saying, well, if you're in the lottery back-to-back years, then you don't get in the third year.
All right, it could be worse.
Last year, technically, the Royals did not finish in the lottery. They were the highest-ranked team that did not finish in the top 6, so they picked what? 7th? They picked 7th last year? No, they picked 8th. So they were the second worst record of the teams that did not finish in the quote-unquote lottery top 6.
Okay.
So then it went 7, then it went 8. So there were 2 teams.
Gavin Cross was 9.
Was he 9? Rhett Lauder. No, I'm thinking of Blake Mitchell. Blake Mitchell. Gavin Cross was 2022. Blake Mitchell this year.
Whoop, that's my bad.
No, you're good. Blake Mitchell was number 8. So the Royals did not, quote-unquote, win the lottery last year to finish in the top 6. They did this year by picking 6th, which means next year they can also be in the lottery. But if they were to pick in the top 6 next year, then they could not pick in the top 6 in 2026.
Which you'd like to hope.
By 2026, they eliminate this? Yes. Yes, I would like to hope that. By 2026, this is gone.
Do you mean the Royals?
That's right. There are some issues, yes, with the Royals organization. It's been a long rebuild. Nobody doubts that. But also ignoring what Major League Baseball has done for the product parity, competitive balance. And I know they've got the luxury tax, so they're spending less money, et cetera, but teams are also willing to pay that. Competitive balance, luxury tax, whatever. And they have some revenue sharing, but it's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Major League Baseball is leaking, and they put some Scotch tape over it. It's like, fixed. The car is totaled. Scotch tape over the headlight does not help. Well, yes, it does. The headlight is now back in place. Cool. That's awesome. The Royals did an incredibly rare thing that they were able to drive that car and win a race. Who else has done that? Who? The Diamondbacks didn't? Mm-hmm. Your big payroll. Rays haven't?
Rays haven't even done it.
Rays haven't?
They've done it the best and haven't done it.
Right. Well, they're in the playoffs a lot. Cool. Yeah, awesome. Because if you continue to just win, and it's fun during the season, but you're not winning in the postseason, you're going to get tired of that too. It's like every single sport that you're a fan of. Like, let's take Missouri, for instance. Well, you know what? Let's take K-State because Jerome Tang wasn't happy with the fans not showing up. And by the way, it does feel like there's a little bit of a slow burn to college basketball going on this year for some reason than in years past. They went to the Elite Eight last year. First year. That's badass, right? But then expectations are higher. It's like get rid of Bruce Weber, and have somebody that can consistently be good. Like, Missouri just wanted to make the tournament. Well, they did. But I bet if the next 2 years Missouri just simply makes the tournament and loses in the first round, Missouri fans will be going, hey, Dennis Gates, figure it out. Right. Do something in the tournament. Well, hold on. 4 years ago, you just wanted to make the tournament. Yes, I know. And now I'm tired of just making the tournament. Well, that sounds really spoiled. I know. Fan is fanatic. The Chiefs have the number 3 seed, and the sky is falling. How many times did they have the number 3 seed before Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback in their history? 6? 7? In their history? And the number 3 seed is a disaster because you demand more. And Rays fans, I get, however many there are demanding more from the Rays. Yeah, we're winning the regular season, but we can't do anything in the postseason. This sucks. Royals fans are demanding consistency, but they also get to go out there and look at the flags in the 14 and 15 season. That is not what is supposed to happen in baseball. That's the rarity. The NFL, what is happening and what's supposed to happen is teams coming to the middle, or teams, all of a sudden the Jags go from being crap to really good. My son was watching highlights of Shaq Leonard for some reason.
Weird, but okay.
Totally weird. And he's like, Dad, this guy, he keeps punching the football. I'm like, who is? I'm like, oh, that's Shaq Leonard. That's awesome. He's watching. And there was a scroll on the bottom line that showed the Dolphins 1-7. And he's like, the Dolphins sucked. He's like, they're the number 1 seed right now. I go, yeah, that's the NFL, bud.
Yep.
2 years ago, they sucked.
Yep.
And now they're the number 1 seed. The A's are not going to have the number 1 seed in Major League Baseball anytime soon. But Vegas could in 2 years. It's not a great chance, but 2 years ago, did anybody think the Chiefs would be chasing the Miami Dolphins 12 years into the 2023 NFL season? We didn't, but that's not happening in Major League Baseball, except for the rare instance in which the Royals had the best record in the American League and won the World Series in 2015 after going in 2014. That is not the way baseball is set up, and this is dumb. The lottery is stupid. It's been stupid. And they have made it worse. They don't want tanking, then eliminate the trade deadline, because that is the definition of out front, celebrated tanking in Major League Baseball that they also celebrate every year. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. A couple other points on this, and then I want to get into some Chiefs talk. Seth Kaiser, Chief in the North, and also Matt Lane from KC Sports Network, who we have on a rotating basis on Thursday. They both wrote about what they saw from Wanya Morris in his limited reps. So I do want to talk about that because it's kind of what we saw as well, but they obviously did a deeper dive and more of a study and film breakdown and things like that. So we'll talk about Wanya Morris a little bit. And I also went through and looked last night at the plays that killed the Chiefs and how significant they were in the last two losses, just to kind of give some context to what a couple of plays do for a team in the overall grand scheme of the game. But I wanted to bring this up real quick. I acknowledge with some of the texts are like, well, if the Royals had the top 3 pick, they would mess it up anyway. Sure. Because the top 3 picks, they've always messed up. With Bobby Witt and Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas and Alex Gordon, they screwed those over. They missed on those guys. Zach Greinke, sorry. They were terrible. Asa Lacy, yes, there you go. But are you going to use Asa Lacy or are you going to use Greinke, Moustakas, Hosmer, and the 7th most votes in the MVP this year in Bobby Witt?
Just to pick on it, Asa Lacy went 4, right?
4, yep. So not
hey
even top
guys,
3.
The difference between 2 and 4 might be your sure thing high school shortstop and a pitcher who ultimately ends up having a bad back and it's all just bleeped.
Yeah.
Having a higher pick makes your job easier.
Well, number 2 was Kerstad for the Orioles, and he's the number 24 prospect in all of baseball right now.
That'll do too. To stay in the same draft class is probably, but it's like just from the Royals perspective. The Royals had the 2nd pick here, and they turned it into Bobby Witt Jr. Huzzah! They had the 4th pick here. They turned it into Asa Lacy. Boy, this organization stinks. I mean, God, far be it from me to tell you that the Royals have been good at talent evaluation, but you don't have to work very hard to understand that having better consensus players gives you a better chance to get higher end talent, and it's just harder to find gems later. You know what proves that? Every draft in all of professional sports. Like that, I understand Royals fans being full-on nihilists at this point. I really do. I get it. I am 90% of the way there for Royals nihilism. I hear you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the idea that, like, well, them picking 6 is just the same as them picking 1, 2, or 3 is obviously kind of silly.
For example, they picked number 8, Blake Mitchell. He is not ranked in the postseason top 100 rankings at MLB.com. Number 1 pick, Paul Skeens, is ranked number 3. Number 2 pick, Cruz, is ranked number 4. I believe it's Max Clark, the number 3 pick in the draft. He's ranked 15th. Wyatt Langford went number 4, the Florida player. He's ranked 13th. And
Walker Jenkins is 5th.
There you go. Walker Jenkins, that's the guy that I like. He went 5th. He's number 16. And Blake Mitchell is not ranked in the top 100. That's 3, 4, 13, 15, 16 out of the top 5 picks in last year's. This is a 5-player draft where you probably can't go wrong with any of these 5 players. They are studs. Great. Royals are picking 5th. Oh, wait, they're not. They dropped 3 spots in the lottery. They would have been picking 5th. So they would have ended up with one of the top 20. Well, if he was the Royals organization, they wouldn't be in the top 20. You think those guys are ranked in the top 20 because of what they've done in their organization in 7 games?
Right.
No, they're ranked in the top 20 because that's the prospect view of how good last year's draft was. These guys are legit stud players that in any number of years, they may have gone 1 or 2. In any number of other years, right? In 2020, when Spencer Torkelson went number 1, maybe Walker Jenkins is the number 1 pick, and he went 5th in 2023, and the Royals took Asa Lacy at number 4. Spencer Torkelson went number 1. He's been better as of late. In the last 2 months of the season, I think he OPS'd at 900, and before he got called up, he was the number 4 prospect in baseball. He hasn't played like the number 4 prospect in baseball so far. Max Meyer went 3rd, right in front of Asa Lacy, and he's had injury issues. Well, Asa Lacy has well. The second baseman / shortstop, whatever, from Vanderbilt, the guy I really wanted, I forget his name now, went 5th, and he hasn't been all that great. He hasn't been good at all. So, there are certainly some players you can find. But here's the point I'm making on this. And when we talk about, the Royals are picking 6th, who cares, figure it out. Since the Royals drafted Bobby Witt in the first round of 2019, they've had the 4 drafts where they've drafted 4th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Not in that order, but those are just the draft picks. There have been 24 picks that have been selected ahead of the Royals, combined in those 4 drafts. 24 picks. 2 of those 24 picks graduated and are not listed in the top 100 prospects postseason right now because they have graduated on Torkelson and Henry Davis, the catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who went number 1 in 2021. They have since graduated on. 17 of those 22 picks are ranked in the top 100. But that's because Jacob Wilson, the number 6 pick in this draft, is ranked 76th. 16 of those 22 picks are ranked in the top 50 of the current Major League Baseball, MLB.com, postseason, end-of-season 2023 prospect rankings. 16 of the 22 players are ranked in the top 50. There were only 37 drafted players that are ranked in the top 50 right now because of the international free agent signings. That means 16 of the 37 available top 50 players that were drafted ahead of the Royals in the last 4 drafts. Now, I get the skepticism of going, yeah, but the Royals would screw it up anyway. If the Royals drafted Jordan Lawler, he wouldn't be the 10th pick or the 10th best player in minor league baseball right now. If the Royals drafted Colton Cowser, he wouldn't be 14th right now. If the Royals drafted, Brooks Lee, he wouldn't be a top 20 pick. If the Royals drafted, Kerstad, he wouldn't be number 24. If they drafted Marcello Meyer, he wouldn't be number 11. Understandable. I get the skepticism. Absolutely. I do. And it is warranted, by the way. It is warranted.
Sure.
But also, sometimes when you just get a better player overall, they are just simply better players.
Who was worse with quarterbacks for 50 years than the Kansas City Chiefs?
The Bears.
You have a couple contenders, but it's a long list.
Browns, damn it.
The Royals very well could have screwed all of that up. They could have had the number 1 pick each of the last 10 years, and they still might be a sub 500 team.
They could have had the number 1 pick in 2021 and still taken Frank Mazzucato.
Totally possible. But you know what they didn't have?
Yeah.
The chance to screw that up. Because all of that huge portion of those prospects that you just mentioned, they didn't have a chance to get. You can absolutely be a pessimist, nihilist, whatever depths of darkness you have to get to watch Royals baseball 100 and some times a year. You access all of that, but don't turn that into the number 2 pick and the number 6 pick are the same. It's an unnecessarily small take.
Not only that, I mean, trying to think in the 2022 draft.
I got draft pages open left and right. By the way, Austin Martin, just so you can sleep tonight.
Austin Martin, there you
your
go.
Shortstop out of Vandy.
I almost said Ramon Martin for some reason. I'm not sure
I would have been kind of half close.
Yeah. Well,
I'd say 49% close.
it's just because it's spelled the same?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pronounced different, so I'm giving you half credit, but a little less than half credit.
So the Rangers have done a pretty good job of developing players, right? I mean, Jace Young is talked about as a pretty damn good player. Catcher that is an all-star kid. Good God, man!
You can't look at me for baseball. I was about to say I can't remember what the Rangers did this year.
I have turned the page. Regardless, they're viewed as that, right?
Sure. Yeah. Seems like a good baseball team, more or less.
So of the 17 of the 5 picks of so I mentioned that 17 of 22 picks. So Jonah Heim, there you go. 17 of the 22 picks that are ahead of the Royals are in the top 100. The 5 picks, and even if you want to go top 50, because again, Jacob Wilson in the draft this year is number 76. The other 16, let's just do top 50. 16 of the 22. That means there are 6 players that were drafted ahead of the Royals that are not in the top 50 that are ranked and not graduated. Max Meyer in 2020 has been injured. He's not in there. He was the number 3 pick. 2021, Jack Leiter went number 2. One of the best pitching prospects we've seen in a long time. And I used to call him Al Leiterson because everybody was saying, Jack Leiter, it's Al Leiter's son. So I just always, as a joke, was like, oh, the Rangers got Al Leiterson. Number 3 in 2022, Kumar Rocker.
I was just clicking on his Wikipedia page. Curious where he ended up. How's he doing?
Number 5 in 2022, Elijah Green. He fell off this year. Going into the season, he was number 46 overall. He's not ranked now. Number 6 this year, Jacob Berry. He was number 6 in 2022. Preseason, he was number 61 this year. But he fell off. Those things happen. Nationals, Marlins. A couple of organizations that have developed some players, certainly. And then Jacob Wilson, the 6th pick this year, is number 76. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker were drafted by the Rockies. Or, excuse me, the Rangers. Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, hold on.
Jesus,
no, Kumar
dude.
Rocker did get drafted, but I
By
think
the
it was by
Mets.
the Mets first.
Yeah, good
so
God. I was looking at my
was-
sheet as the number 3 pick in Rockies.
I was going to let that simmer for 1 second before I
went
interjected.
three Rocker and then 3 Rockies. Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, drafted by the Rangers, the team that just won the World Series and is all developing, except they're buying as well. So, can they not draft? Are they dumb? Are they dumb? But they took Jace Young later in the draft, and they developed him into an awesome third baseman. They must be really smart. They must be really good. So what happened with Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter? Jack Leiter has been trash. He's not been good. Kumar Rocker's been injured, which is one of the concerns that was there. Imagine if the Royals took Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker. They would be viewed as they cannot get it right. They can't develop. They suck. Asa Lacy, Jack Leiter, and Kumar Rocker, 3 drafts in a row. Good God, they're terrible. But that happens. Those are the ones that are drafted ahead of the Royals. You can find players behind the Royals. Certainly. Absolutely. A lot of them. That means there are 21 players drafted after the Royals that are still in the top 50
Yep, they're there.
of the
can find
last
them.
4 drafts. They're still in the top 50, the last 4 drafts. It's pretty awesome. You can find them. The Royals haven't found them. Maybe that changes. But to dismiss and poo-poo the lottery and the Royals picking 6th instead of 2nd is absurd because you're not paying attention to see what actually happens when you put the talent out there. If the Royals are building around Bobby Witt, they're doing it because they picked 2nd. They drafted and traded Greinke because they picked that spot. Hosmer was the face of this organization for a World Series because they drafted him in the top 3. Moustakas made play after play after play and was maybe the red ass / missing from the Chiefs Eric Bieniemy of that particular team. And also that Zach Greinke helped him get Lorenzo Cain, who was maybe the favorite player or, you know, the best player on that team. It's pretty good. Pretty good drafting. You can do it. But it's easier to find the can't-miss guys in the top few picks. And this year, unfortunately, there are 3 guys that people look at and go, these guys could be studs, these 3 guys. Well, maybe the Royals could trade up. Oh, that's right. Major League Baseball doesn't allow you to trade draft picks either because that's really cool, too. Where's on next? this. I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Ha! I could totally be the man yelling at clouds right now. Maybe it's because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because it's just like once the lottery came in, I'm like, the Royals are going to get screwed. It's just going to happen.
You're not the only guy yelling at the clouds, then. If these are the clouds we're yelling
Yeah,
at.
I know. Hopefully they can win that piece of metal soon. At some point.
Yeah, they'll only change the lottery when the Astros are screwed. That's what we're waiting on.
It's weird. I wonder how the Astros were able to build their team to where they're no longer tanking anymore. They must have just gone out and bought everybody. Just bought. Just spend crazy amounts of money on free agents. That's how because they weren't tanking it at all, because that doesn't work. It's bad for baseball with the Astros.
She's done the research.
I measured the big boys' booties for like 2 years.
She's analyzed the data.
If you can keep that big booty down, like if you are a big boy, if you're very tall and you can keep your booty down low, then you are far more successful.
She's crunched the numbers, and the results are clear.
The back of booty isn't as good, as it turns out.
If she picks a dog, she'll have the math to back it up.
It's not like Travis Kelce has done. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
It's Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, hanging out with Cynthia Freeland from NFL Network, analytics expert, joining us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Cynthia, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I am doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. Chiefs end up losing to the Green Bay Packers there at Lambeau Field. Let's start off with that before we look around at some other things in the AFC and also look at the Buffalo Bills, as that's a huge matchup coming up on Sunday. But your takeaway and reaction to Sunday Night Football, the Packers and the Chiefs. What is the bigger story to you? It's interesting to me. The storyline coming out of that nationally has been the Chiefs. Do you worry about the Chiefs? The Chiefs have, are you concerned about the Chiefs? Do the Chiefs have that fear that they put into other teams anymore? And to me, not enough coming out about the Packers. They're 6-6. They're now in the playoffs. Jordan Love, look what he's doing. This younger team is playing some pretty good football. Matt LaFleur was calling a magnificent game in the first half. What's the story for you? The Chiefs' struggles or the Packers' emergence?
I mean, I guess I would focus on the Packers' emergence. It's not like the Chiefs and Packers are these like historic rivals that play each other all the time, and it becomes like more personal or somehow more of a storyline. I think, look, like the Packers, they obviously have figured some things out. It's pretty amazing to think that you could potentially have 3 starting quarterbacks in a row since Brett Favre on to Aaron Rodgers. Now, I am not willing to put Jordan Love up in that category yet, but he's graduated from that 100 level of quarterbacking to 200, which is funny because C.J. Stroud already did that like a couple of weeks ago. But in terms of his data, we're now starting to see what he can be, what he could potentially become, and his data is starting to stabilize. So I think, look, like we talk about it all the time, like the team 1 to team 32, there isn't as much of a difference as it might seem. Now, yes, of course, Tommy DeVito starting for the banged up Giants is a little bit different than Patrick Mahomes starting for the, world champion Chiefs, but, they're in the middle. There's, team 16 or team 10 or a playoff eligible NFC team is not that much different than an AFC team that's really great. And taking nothing away from the Chiefs, just in general.
Is there something to the last couple of games the Chiefs have played, and they score 31 against the Raiders, and they end up winning that game. But the Raiders score 17 points. They score 14 in the first quarter, their first couple of drives. They score 3 the rest of the game. Now, they also had a missed field goal, so they could have had 17 in their first 3 drives. But even if we throw that in there, because that drive got down inside the 10-yard line for the Raiders, and then the Green Bay Packers score 14 points in their first 2 drives and just milk almost the entire clock. Both of those teams have a running game that sort of goes right at you. Josh Jacobs, A.J. Dillon with the Packers, and I think what Matt LaFleur was doing a good job of with Watson and Reed was making sure the Chiefs still had to prepare and defend sideline to sideline, while also them going, yeah, but now we're going to run it right at you. Oh, by the way, here comes some motion you might want to worry about, but we're going to run it right at you. Is there something to that with the Chiefs' defense that is so good against the pass that has been lesser than against the run? Is there something there that the Raiders and Packers have seen that if another team has the personnel to do that is something that the Chiefs would be susceptible to, is a power run game going right at the Chiefs and milking the clock and keeping it running with 4, 5, 6 yards a carry and just having a long extended drive, because those teams don't get in those passing situations where Spags gets in his bag and the Chiefs can get into what their strength is?
Yeah, well, I guess my follow-up question to that would be, what's the personnel situation? Because even if you're like, look, Drew Tranquill has played amazing. He wasn't even the first starter, and now you're down to the third kind of option at that position who didn't play a bunch of snaps. So maybe, but also probably not when fully healthy, right? So what I would say is that both the Raiders and the Packers did a good job of recognizing areas that could be exploited in that defense and taking advantage of them. And as much as, that's a big part of the game, right? And it just is. So it's kind of like my answer would be no, but according to health, right?
Yeah.
But yes, in the situation that we were in.
Yeah, and also personnel from the other team, because the Buffalo Bills have James Cook. They don't have Josh Jacobs or A.J. Dillon on their team. So if they're the strength to me of the Chiefs' defense is how fast they are and how sound they are tackling in open space. And their secondary players, and they talked about it on the broadcast Sunday night when Snead came up and made the tackle. Trent McDuffie is as good of a tackler in open space as well. That, if you've got a team that's going to be fast and sideline to sideline, I think that works in the Chiefs' favor. That's more the Bills than it is. The Bills are closer to that than the Packers are. They're not going to be a power team that's going to run right at you. Josh Allen can offer the running aspect as well. But, again, the Chiefs' strength is how fast they are and the ground they can cover defensively.
Yeah, and also I would say, look, I don't think people talk enough about how an unfamiliar opponent, especially when an unfamiliar opponent is starting to catch some fire, like Jordan Love has, that changes how everything works, right? So if you haven't really seen, this is now, in fairness, I don't even know if we've seen a Matt LaFleur offense yet, because with Aaron Rodgers, if you don't think Aaron Rodgers had a lot to say about those.
It was the Matt LaFlodgers offense.
Or maybe the Aaron
Raj Floor offense.
I don't even know if I will give him the La. It's like an Aaron La Rodgers.
Okay, great.
I don't even think. I think it was far more Aaron than it was Matt. Right. So it's not even like you have a full case study there. Then you're playing with some injuries, and it's not like the Lions saw it too. And as much as I'll tell you the Lions defense has some issues, which it does, it's still very difficult to adjust to something that is really coming into its own. You have a good opportunity to, when something's coming into its own, you have a good opportunity to have the advantage on the offense when you're really starting to, when Christian Watson's starting to hit his stride, the whole thing kind of coming together all at once.
Yeah. Cynthia Frelund is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert. So what do you make of, we talked about obviously the Packers side of it and what they've been doing. The unfamiliar opponent, I do like that angle. That's an interesting one. What do you make of it for the Chiefs? They are 2-3 now in their last 5 games. A loss to the Broncos on the road. They beat the Dolphins. They lose to the Eagles, they beat the Raiders, and they lose to the Green Bay Packers. What do you make of what's going on with this team? Is it, a cold streak? Are there things that are being exposed? Is it just the margin for error we've talked about is much smaller for this Chiefs team, and those losses, they are eliminating that? What are you seeing over these last 5 weeks that they've gone from 6-1 to 8-4?
I guess I'm seeing a little bit of the natural sort of evolution of a season. You have to figure some things out. The Niners had a 3-game losing streak, and now we're thinking that they're the all-world beaters that are going to never lose again, blah, 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 right? So remember, it's not we talk about momentum, and I don't think momentum is real, but psychology is real, and confidence is real, and working through issues is real. I'm going to tell you, and I don't advocate for people punching, especially when there's a helmet on, because it really just ultimately hurts your own hand, but seeing Isaiah Pacheco get out there and get scrappy in his 3rd game with a full complement of carries and being really efficient and effective, that showed me the passion's there. They will figure it out. I think that, I understand, that's a small note from that, but I kind of loved it from the standpoint of this team's fighting. They're going to figure some things out. Teams have really been keying in on Travis Kelce in a really specific way, and that's fine. That's the time when Andy Reid pulls out his chess mind and figures out how to get his queen all over the board. And, there's no pawns beating that queen for very long, to use my chess analogy. But, they'll figure it out. I think this is part of the natural, when you are the best team in the league, you are going to have people gunning for you, creating special game plans for you, saving plays from preseason 2016 to pull out against you. And eventually that will sometimes you're going to drop a few because these are the best of the best around the entire league. It's not like anyone's sitting here slouching at the Eagles with the best record in football.
Yeah. Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert, as we talk about this Chiefs team and the NFL, the AFC, et cetera. One of the things that also stood out, and we talked about this on Monday and again yesterday as well, Cynthia, in just, plays here or there can be so significant in a game that can, change the course of a game. A massive swing in the Super Bowl was Nick Bolton's, scoop and score. I mean, that was just EPA win probability was just so big. The scramble by Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter, just massive win probability, EPA, things like that. Just a couple plays here or there. And the last two losses for this Chiefs team, the Packers on Sunday and the Eagles a couple of weeks ago, if you look at the top 8 plays against the Packers in win probability, percentage added, and expected points added, 6 of those top 8 went the Packers' way. And against the Eagles, 3 of the top 4 went the Eagles' way, including the interception to Justin Watson, and that was intended for Justin Watson in the end zone, Cynthia, against Philadelphia, and the Travis Kelce fumble at the 8-yard line were a combined 11 expected points added, taken off, and a 30% win probability added to the Eagles. On those 2 plays alone were almost a third of the win probability. That's how massive they were. And you got 3 of the top 4 against the Eagles and 6 of the top 8 against the Packers. Is that one of those, any given Sunday, those things happen, they'll, even out, that, you pay attention to some of those things, you'll go, wow, the Chiefs in the 4 of the 5 top plays had a negative 36.5% win probability added and a negative 13.3 points in EPA against the Packers alone, with the interception from Mahomes, the 4th and 1 conversion, the 2nd and 16 conversion, and the 3rd and 5 touchdown to Christian Watson was 14 points and 37% win probability of those 4 plays alone.
Well, part of it is any given Sunday, but the other part is teams get up extra. When you are guarding Travis Kelce, who is dating Time's Women of the Year, you are going to play harder, right? Like, you are going to, that the ball's going to Travis Kelce. So you're going to try to help him fumble, right? You're going to try to make sure that happens. You're going to try to pick off Patrick Mahomes. That means, like, these guys, they're not kidding. Like, the corners, when you talk about, like, I have a pick against Patrick Mahomes, like, that is their Super Bowl in that moment, right? So while it is any given Sunday, you also have to remember the psychological aspect of it is a little, like, you are playing in prime. When you play the Chiefs, it is prime time, even if it's not Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, whatever.
Yeah.
That is your prime time, right? Everybody's watching you. So I do think that while you get everyone's best, right? Remember, I don't know, a decade ago when people would play the opening, there was an opening game, right? And it's Chiefs versus Patriots, and it was like, whoa, the Patriots are on, right? It doesn't feel like that anymore. But, it's one of those things where you're like, wow, like, Tom Brady's there. We're going to have to see what's going. It's the same thing. You're always going to get someone's best. So while it is any given Sunday, like, of course, like, bigger players, they want to make those big plays against Patrick Mahomes. They'd rather pick off Patrick Mahomes than Jared Goff, even if the net, result is the same amount of EPA loss for the opposing team. So it does matter that it is, like, this is the best team, right? Like, nobody wants to let the you want to beat the Super Bowl champs. You just do.
The and I think part of looking at that for me last night is they lose those 2 games. If they find a way to squeak one out against the Packers and find a way to squeak one out against the Eagles, this is a team that's sitting 10-2 alone in first place with the number 1 seed, and the sky is less falling right now, and the issues are less issues right now if you can find a way to do that. And I think they're it's hard to have the game sort of come down to, you have 140 plays in a game, and you can say, yeah, but there were 2 plays that really, against Philadelphia, if Mahomes doesn't throw the interception to Justin Watson, if Travis Kelce doesn't fumble, if those 2 plays just simply do not happen, the Chiefs win. Again, that was 30% win probability to the Eagles and 11 points, expected points added on those 2 plays. And the top 2 plays in the Packers game both went the Eagles' way, the interception and then the 4th and 1. That was a combined 8 points added and 25% win probability. I mean, a quarter of the game came down to 2 plays. It's hard to sort of fathom and sort of wrap your mind around that, because it can be that close that an 8-point loss, you can say, yeah, they lost by 8, but they kind of lost in 2 plays that both went against them, that if they went in their favor, we might be having a different conversation. And I don't know if that's putting lipstick on a pig, Cynthia, if that's just glossing over some issues, or is it adding context, or is it just simply saying that's the beauty and the fun of the NFL, is that any play you can look at and go, that changed the entire game. I had no idea that 3rd and 6 in the Super Bowl was going to be the biggest game changer of one of the biggest plays in Chiefs Super Bowl history. Nick Bolton picks up the fumble and runs for a touchdown. No idea, but looking back, that's a play we'll remember forever. And had no idea that Philadelphia and Green Bay, you look at those 2 plays in each game, 4 plays are different. They're 10-2 right now, but that's kind of the NFL, and I think some of that can speak to the margin for error, maybe with the Chiefs. That with less margin for error, those top 2 plays don't go your way. Might be tough to win that game.
I mean, that's the part of the charm of football, right? Like hope. It's not a great investing proposition, hope, but it does keep us watching football. And it keeps you hopeful that even if your team's down, something crazy is going to happen in the final seconds for things to change. And maybe there are maybe some striped people on the field who had some issues. I don't know. I don't know anything about football after watching. I was so confused.
Yeah. And
I watched more football than probably a lot of people, right? Like maybe ever. So I don't even know. But that always feels like it just is a perfect encapsulation of like all of life, right? Hope, some things that don't feel fair. Sometimes the ball drops your way and sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. So it's life like in this like little microcosm of 3.5 hours.
How big of a swing is that? There's been a discussion that's gone on, and I think immediately after the game, there was a lot of upset fans, and I understand it. Right. My view, Cynthia, was the Chiefs deserved to have a 1st and goal from the 5 with 40 seconds left. But that play and the referee not calling that particular pass interference didn't cost them the game. The referees didn't award the Packers the game. Chiefs were still down by 8. They'd have to score, get a 2-point conversion. If they scored quickly, they'd have to stop the Packers from getting a field goal. They'd still have to win in overtime. It's a lot of stuff that has to happen for the Chiefs to actually win that game. But they deserved the chance and the opportunity to be 1st and goal at the 5. I don't know. That's not even the funny part about that, Cynthia, is that's not even a controversial call. Like the holding call at the end of the Super Bowl was controversial. Everybody agreed that was pass interference. There was no controversy about it, except for the 3 people on the field that actually would, call it pass interference. It's just a massive no call that cost the Chiefs a real prime opportunity to win that game.
I think that one of my producers, who is not he's a Bengals fan. He's not anti anyone, right? But he was like, I just would have liked to know what would have happened had it been called correctly, right? Like,
me too.
You just want to know, like it doesn't mean, I don't think that the refs handed the ball game to anyone, but I do think like, you just want it to feel like I put my best on the field and you put, and nothing was handicapped in a way that made it not fair, right? Yeah. Like this isn't golf. I don't want to try to play with Tiger Woods. I want Tiger Woods to play against someone really good, right? Like I don't want the handicap. I want to see what would happen, right? Just for the loving the sport and loving watching what's on the screen, and that was a great game. Like in general, it was a fun game to watch. You felt like at any point either team could win, and that's kind of like that's what we're supposed to be watching, right? Like there's been a bunch of dogs this weekend. Like I can't believe I had to go watch the Chargers. The first time I've ever seen a 5.5-point spread that was won 6-0. Like I can't even that.
Nailed it.
That was really hard to watch. That was a hard game, and this was like a beautiful game. And you're like, no, I just wanted to end with something where I feel like satisfied.
Yeah, just the one of the other things in that I know they're not going to ever call a pass interference and a Hail Mary. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not.
But because that's not going to happen, Cynthia, I've come up with a strategy for the Chiefs. Hopefully other teams don't do this. I'm going to copyright this. If anybody does this, they will owe me money. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a receiver on the right side of my formation. for one-on-one or whatever. On the left side of my formation, Cynthia, I've got Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Rashee Rice, and Blake Bell, I think is who I went with. And they're going to run down to the end zone, and Mahomes is going to throw it. And when Mahomes throws it, Noah Gray and Blake Bell's only job is to knock the defenders down to the ground.
Perfect.
Leaving Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce to win the jump ball that's there. Because why do offensive players just turn their back and just try to catch it when the defensive players are pushing and pulling and doing all that stuff? The offensive, you should have an enforcer. Send Blake Bell and Noah Gray down there just to knock the defenders while the ball's in the air and create the opening for either Rashee Rice, who's got an amazing vertical, or Travis Kelce, or something like that. And if they all want to go over there, I got a one-on-one on the other side just in case. I think offensive players should start to utilize the fact that they are not calling pass interference. And hell, they don't call offensive pass interference anyway. I mean, there's zero chance they would call it then.
No.
Just
I'm
be
honest
smart.
with you. Why don't you go full tilt on this? Why don't you switch out some of the offensive players for some of the defensive players?
That's
Keep
a
the
great
big guys
point.
in there.
It's a great
and
point.
stick Trent McDuffie in there. Like I think McDuffie would be a great add to that because clearly he knows how to track the ball. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
that's a
put some
great point.
defenders in there.
I love it.
Go full tilt.
Yeah.
Why stop there?
Give me Nick Bolton and Willie Gay out there just taking
Yeah,
some defenders
give me
out.
Nick Bolton out there.
Chris Jones.
Yikes.
Chris Jones just going down there. And I mean, he's tall. Chris Jones just boxing people out. As the ball is falling, Chris Jones will just stand there and hold his arms out and just box him out like he's a basketball player. And then Noah Gray or whoever can just knock him off balance.
Exactly.
And then
There
you've
you go.
got like
See?
a wide open guy. And then you would have to call dibs or I got it, like in baseball. Like if it's coming down and Rashee Rice is right there. Mine, I got it. And then there's nobody around him. He just catches it. Touchdown. No flag because, of course, we don't throw a flag on Hail Marys. So the offense should start utilizing that. They just stand there and let the defense, take advantage of it. Come on.
Listen, Coach Reed, if you need us, you got my phone number.
Seriously.
You got our phone numbers. He can reach out to us. We can design a few plays. Why not?
Absolutely. Cynthia Freeland is our guest NFL Network analytics expert. You brought up the 49ers, and they had a 3-game losing streak, and now they look like world beaters. And this team, goes to Seattle and wins by 18 points. They win by 23 points or whatever it is against the Eagles, and they've just been dominant the last couple of weeks. Brock Purdy is now the DraftKings, at least, the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP.
I can't stop it. That's crazy.
It is.
Keep going.
My question was
now. Like this is why you don't. Like right now, what is it? Black Friday was like what 2 weeks ago. So this is your holiday dip in if you partake in things where DraftKings is available, whatever. This is your holiday dip, and I hate to say this because I don't like this team, but you could go get like a Dak Prescott, or you could I don't like sitting here advocating for the Cowboys just because they're not even going to win the division, but you can go get like a Hurts or a Prescott on total discount.
Mahomes is the 5th betting favorite right now. He dropped from first going into the Eagles game to the 5th betting favorite right now.
I mean, come on. There you go. There's like a Black Friday special for you. It just lasted a little bit longer because we all know. I mean, look, if I'm going to say on that team even, I think Christian McCaffrey should be your
Agreed.
MVP.
Yes.
So I can make a stronger case for Tyreek, and I'm not an anti-Brock Purdy human being. I like Brock. He's the nicest kid. He's so sweet, but goodness gracious, league MVP, come on.
The question I was going to have as well is Kyle Shanahan is really, really good at getting the best out of quarterbacks. And he went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. And Brock Purdy certainly is a fine quarterback. The 3 weeks that he played without Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams is something that just really sticks out to me because those 3 weeks he had a 77.9 quarterback rating, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. The other 8 games that he has played, 9 games that he has played, he's got a 130 quarterback rating, 20 touchdowns and 1 interception when Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, and all of his weapons and Christian McCaffrey are fully healthy. I mean, I think a lot of people would look at Brock Purdy and say, okay, system quarterback, but maybe even an elevated, system quarterback by how good he is. I just don't know if so much of that is how good Kyle Shanahan is in calling plays or getting the best out of his quarterback, putting the ball in the hands of Deebo, like a 5-yard throw to Deebo Samuel turned into a 45-yard touchdown for Brock Purdy. That's not Brock Purdy, that's Deebo Samuel. and Trent Williams just being an absolute wall, and you can do a number of things with that offensive line. I just, I look at this 49ers team. I think they're awesome, but I don't think they're being led by the quarterback that will make all the plays and can go and do something in the second half and come from behind by 10 points or whatever. But I do think they're a team that if game flow is in their favor, they can not only win, they can control the whole thing and win by double digits when it's all said and done. And Brock Purdy could be a Super Bowl MVP with how he's playing in the games when he's got his weapons all around him. I just don't know how much he's contingent on the health of everybody else.
I think a Super Bowl MVP I can get behind.
Yeah,
but
right.
Here's the difference. With 13 seconds left in a game, do you trust the ball in Brock Purdy's hands to bring you into overtime to ultimately send you to win? No, right? Like, you don't need any of my fancy stats, of which I have many, right? But you don't need any of those to know. Like, your gut can tell you, right? Like, you're sitting there being like, okay, like, who do I really, in this case, like, I think Josh Allen, even though he's had a season with a bunch of interceptions or whatever, but, like, you still think, Josh Allen, like, you're still scared of him. Mm-hmm. You don't, does Brock Purdy inspire fear? Like, if you were to drop Brock Purdy on another team, which I know that's not how we do this, but like, even with good weapons, would you sit there and be like, wow, he can make magic right now, or no?
Well, what's the 49ers record with Mahomes, and what's the Chiefs record with Brock Purdy?
I mean, yikes. If you put Mahomes on the 49ers, yikes.
Yeah, sorry about the thought to the rest of the league. If we were to do that.
This is why we have parity, because can you imagine the super team that would be constructed if we could pay for it?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Well, thank goodness it's not Major League Baseball. The NFL doesn't have a lottery. That's fun. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Last for you, what do you think of the Bills, and if you have a score in mind or a range of what may take place coming up this Sunday at Arrowhead?
Well, I want to point out one really specific number, and that's the difference in passer rating with and without Matt Milano on the field this season. Now, I know he didn't play a ton of games, so it's small, but when he was on the field and the middle of the field was being defended by Matt Milano, that number was sub 50. When he's been off the field, so to be precise, it's 49.3. When he's been off the field, so with any other configuration on that field, no Matt Milano, it's 126.8. Yeah, that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, goodness.
And let's just say, to me, I don't even know if we need the good luck of Taylor Swift being in the building, et cetera, but that to me sounds like a tasty little treat for Travis Kelce, and that to me makes a huge difference for this entire game. So while I think it will be close, because I think the Bills know that they're fighting for their playoff life in this one, I mean, right now they're at like a 20% chance of making the playoffs, and that's pretty – I'm more generous than many other outlets because I don't think things are as dramatic of swings as other models do. But this is potentially the nail in the coffin for them. So I think they'll come out swinging, but I think the Chiefs take it in a 3-point win at home.
Yeah, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to take this game lightly. I think the Chiefs have a little bit of desperation, too, with them being 2-3 and feeling like they've let some games get away, and looking up at the standings after that game and seeing the number 4 next to their name instead of the number 1. Quite the change. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. As always, Cynthia, great stuff. Appreciate the time. We'll be watching and checking everything out, and talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you so much. Enjoy the football.
Absolutely, you too. And just so you know, I would punch someone in the face for you, even with the helmet on.
Thank
that's
you.
the kind of teammates we are.
I would.
You got it.
I would do that as well. If somebody is over there blocking you and pushing you down to the ground.
Exactly. You try to push me? Nope. I will. You try to push my teammates? I'm going to Isaiah Pacheco you it.
Absolutely. I'm coming over. It's a suplex, pile driver, rabbit punch. Whatever it takes to get your back.
Don't mess with my people ever.
Damn right. Cynthia, thank you for the information, the analysis, and the defense.
Have a great day.
You too. There's Cynthia Freeland, willing to throw hands for this show. On site, she said, for this show.
The cut was named Cynthia Good Teammate over here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cynthia will fight for you. Literally will fight for her people. Take that. You want to talk some smack about the zone? I'm going to now, every time I get a tweet, I'm going to then tag Cynthia Freeland, and she's going to tag you.
You think she'll fight for her people? Wait till you see what she does for her dogs.
Yeah.
Whoo-wee!
And the Chiefs are trying to do that for their right to party. We'll hear from them coming up this hour. More Zone next. All right, we got a short segment here. Went a little longer there with Cynthia Freeland because we got into some fight talk.
Can I give you some breaking news?
I like
pure hilarity.
I like funny breaking news.
Jets coach Robert Saleh has announced that he's back. Not Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson.
He's starting?
He is their starter once again.
Hold on. I thought people in the Jets organization said that he does not want to play anymore.
I wouldn't want to play quarterback for the Jets either.
Huh. So they forced him to play. You are contractually obligated to go out there and play. Fine. I'm not going to play well, though. Really? Could we tell?
This is the greatest sport in the world.
Could we tell if you were trying to not play well, Zach?
No way. I'm just telling the difference.
I'll tell you what. I'll play. I'm not going to like it, though.
Do you know a way you can combat tanking? Have Zach Wilson be your quarterback. No one will be able to know when you're tanking or not.
Also, the second Aaron Rodgers went down with an Achilles, they should have been tanking.
Yes. They should have done a lot differently.
Tanking.
Call Joe Flacco.
The Bengals should be tanking. They beat the Jags. That's dumb. Ooh, they might get into the playoffs. Who cares? Jake Browning. Unless, of course, Joe Burrow is a system quarterback, which, hey, I'm not eliminating that possibility. We'll see what Jake Browning does the rest of the way with those weapons. Who knows? Kind of like Brock Purdy. I have no idea. We'll find out. We'll hear from the Chiefs next. I said last week, Brad G told Todd Lebo it's going to be the regular Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones. I said, okay, so let's see if this week is the same, the quote-unquote regular. And guess what? It's Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Jones. Hopefully Chris Jones gets to the podium a little bit quicker than he did last week. My legs were very tired from dancing. Maybe that's where my voice went, was just Chris Jones. They said it'd be a couple more minutes. All right, we're not going to take a break. We're just going to talk. 25 minutes later.
Also, we
And
heard from all three of these guys post-game. I thought we might get
That is a good
Pacheco
point.
today or a wide receiver today.
That's a great point.
This is the post-game crew.
Yeah, at the podium.
Can we get somebody else post-game that I'm forgetting, Dylan? I can't remember. I think this was the group.
I'm a little surprised that Chris Jones is weekly.
Yeah, me too.
Because I believe there's a certain quota, if you're not the quarterback or the head coach, that you need to have like interviews or whatever. And that can range from, like, if you're a rookie, it's like, a couple times during the season, we're going to need you at a podium on a Wednesday, a Thursday, or maybe even a Friday. You know, I thought when we heard from Chris Jones like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I was like, all right, he's getting his out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, here's my quota out of the way, boom, boom, and then now I can just be left alone at the podium. They don't have to ask me anymore. So I am a little surprised that he's a post-game podium guy, game in and game out, and a Wednesday podium guy. I guess I'm surprised in that somebody would want to do that, because Kelsey doesn't even want to do that. But also maybe it's him stepping up and saying, I want to be more of a leader on this overall team. And, hey, does this help me get a long-term contract and stay here with the Chiefs and get paid as someone who's doing this and being a voice and being heard and being taught? And I'm there after games, and I'm there on Wednesdays with the quarterback, the coach, and Chris Jones. Post-game, quarterback, the coach, and at least Chris Jones. I don't know.
I think it's one of two tinfoil hat theories. One is that it's Chris Jones or his representation saying, "Hey, just go talk as much as you can. Tell the Chiefs, ask them to go do podiums more often. You're just going to be part of the face of the franchise, and we're going to get your face on camera more often. Easy way to do it." Or the Chiefs are saying, "Hey, man, we're not going to even try to sign you this offseason. We're going to burn you at both ends. You go ahead and play all game, and then go out there and talk twice a week. We do not care."
But he can turn it down, though. He can just say,
there's
can't do it, Brad, not today.
There is some amount of that with what the people are requesting versus what the
meant.
Chiefs actually bring through. He is he's been very active. He's on that Tyrann Mathieu track,
right,
which was Justin Reed's track, and then just sort of this year has been Chris Jones.
That's right.
I don't know, but
because now that it's
a conspiracy feels like the only good answer, regardless.
Because now that it's this is our usual.
Right.
So that means on Wednesdays we're getting Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Jones. And I'm not against it. I like hearing Chris Jones talk. He's fun. I will take – look, if the Wednesday regular was Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Thuney, I would be vetoing. Mm-hmm. I'd offer a veto vote to have somebody else there on Wednesdays. Chris Jones is entertaining, and he can say some stuff. And he'll let you know sometimes how he's actually feeling. Like, you know – we'll see y'all at coming up at Burrowhead Stadium. Excuse me, did you say Burrowhead? That's what it's called, right?
Geehaw.
Geehaw.
He's given us some gifts. I'm happy to hear from Chris Jones, but it is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, absolutely. So good for him, though. So we'll hear from Chris Jones. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. And maybe some locker room sound as Lebo will go and work that part of the Chiefs there. So hopefully we get a positive update on Brian Cook, because there still is the at least potential for it to not be season ending. When he was riding on a cart and tears down his face, I thought we'll see number 6 next year. Yep. So here is Andy Reid.
Almost.
I think he's in the room, walking.
How about now,
closer,
according to Lebo?
And go.
All right. As far as the injuries go, Pacheco actually came in with a shoulder contusion. We'll see how he works out here. He's going to have that checked, so he won't work out today. So Brian Cook with the ankle sprain, he's being evaluated still. And then Donovan Smith has the neck stinger. Drew Tranquil is still in the concussion protocol. So those guys will not practice today. we'll just see down the road here how that all goes. I don't have dates. I don't do that anyway. So with that, we look forward to the challenge of playing the Bills. Obviously, a good football team, and they're familiar with us. We're familiar with them, and it should be, like I said, a heck of a football game. So with that, time yours.
Those first two drives offensively, what went wrong in the red zone in your opinion? Now that you have a chance to look back at it.
Yeah, you know what? The first drive, I could help the guys out with the calls, you know, and then the second drive, you know, we had the penalty, so but we can fix all that stuff. We'll get that taken care of. And you're right, we need to score touchdowns there, not field goals.
Andy, more often than not, in the years that Patrick has been the starter, you've had a stretch where you've lost 3 or 5 games, like you're on right now, and each time came out of it pretty well. What are some of the keys to when there's been a month, 6-week stretch?
Now, this league's crazy right now. I mean, it's week to week. I think we understand that. I mentioned, you know, a few weeks ago, San Francisco. When we were in Germany, San Francisco was a 3-game skid. You know, so and now they're playing well. Denver, you know, same thing, and they're playing well. So you know, you go back and you do a better job coaching. You focus in a little bit more playing on the players playing and doing their jobs, and so. But those are things you can control, and keep a positive attitude doing it. You know, learn from your mistakes, and stay positive with it.
Andy, you had a bigger sample size this last week from Wanya Morris. Just wanted to get your thoughts on how he did. Yeah. I actually thought he did a nice job for just stepping in there. You know, he's obviously a talented kid, and he's got good strength, good feet. So there's a good chance he's in there again this week. So we'll see, you know, see how it all rolls.
Would you have faith in him to start if Donovan can't go?
Yeah, I would. Mm-hmm.
Andy, upon tape review, when you see what happened with Sky and his route, MVS had one where he's kind of turned around. Is there anything you guys are seeing there that can be a quick fix going forward? Is just something, or what are you observing?
I thought it was more just being on the same page with each other, you know, and that's a little bit of a unique play that, you know, we check to. I'm talking about for Sky, and then, you know, with MVS, yeah, I mean, I think just the more he keeps playing, you know, he's been in and out, and try to keep him in there a little bit more so he stays in the flow with things. I think he'll be all right. You know, Pat came back to him on the controversial one.
What are y'all seeing from?
Any other thoughts on that, Andy? Yeah. You want to expand? Just wanted to ask.
Coach, Patrick said last week that one of the things you said to him during the bye week was to trust his receivers. That's one of the things that you came back to him. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, listen. You know, it's we lost a game. Offensively, though, it was picked up a little bit from where we've been. And you're going to have incomplete pass. There are going to be some incompletes. But he's trusting the guys. He's putting it out there to them and letting them go get it. And ended up with a pretty good day. Other than we didn't score enough points, we had to take care of the red zone. You know, so and I'll take the responsibility for that. So I thought he threw the ball well. I thought the receivers did a nice job catching the ball when they had opportunities to catch the ball. Every throw is not going to be a perfect throw, and you know, so on. So, but yeah, I thought he did a decent job.
When you talk about
2-point conversion in the third quarter, you did that earlier. You tend to do those kinds of things. Just curious what you were thinking there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to tie the score. Sure. You know, first of all, and then you know, it didn't work. So, but early enough in the game where you take care of business down the road and you make up for that. But that was the time to do it.
Just coming in off their bye week.
Yeah, they listen. Their numbers are really good, offensively and defensively in certain areas, very good. So they've been a little bit up and down. They're working through that. So but they're a talented football team and a good football team, one we respect, and that we've got to make sure we take care of business this week in practice to get ready for them.
Coach, this receiving group that you have is under a microscope. Seems like they're magnified, week after week. What have you learned about that group? Is it, as far as like mentally, are they where they need to be?
Yeah, they seem to be. Yeah, I don't know how much they read on the microscope part, but they're trying to get better every day. So that's the important thing.
I'm sure you've been in this situation from the offensive perspective, but for Spags putting together a plan this week against a team that just changed its offensive coordinator, how much of that is ignoring the first 10 weeks and just really focusing on the last 2 to get a feel for what they are and what they're doing?
Yeah, there's some differences, but there's also some of the same things that they didn't completely can the offense there. So. But I think I'll have a good feel, for what they do best, and so on. Yeah.
Andy, you mentioned in the first 3 quarters you guys moved the ball pretty well. But the fourth quarter, when you look at the final drive, I realize it's always going to be small sample size when you're just looking at one drive. But how do you execute better on just final drive situations this year in general?
Yeah, well, we needed to score, and we didn't do that. So we've got to do a better job there. Yeah, and a lot of those come down to catching the ball, throwing the ball, blocking up front. It's mostly the passing game part. So we got to make plays when given the opportunity. From all 3 parties on the field.
Andy, Green Bay scored a touchdown on the first 2 possessions, obviously, the other day. Similar to what happened in Vegas. I mean, they missed a field goal, obviously, in between. But is there any common theme, maybe, in what's going on defensively early in games? Yeah, well, we've got to make sure we fix that.
We've been doing better than that. And so we're working on it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you. But we've got to fix that, to answer your question.
Last one here. Jarek McKinnon, Nick Bolton, 2 guys you didn't mention earlier. How close are they to returning?
Yeah, they're close. Yeah. Very. No practice today.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so there you go. Andy Reid, the injury updates, as he said right there. Jarek McKinnon, Nick Bolton, close, very close. He then qualified that. By the way, you're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. They will practice today. Not practicing, Pacheco with a shoulder contusion, Brian Cook, ankle sprain, Donovan Smith, neck stinger, still being evaluated, Brian Cook still being evaluated, I should say. And then Drew Tranquil, concussion protocol. Those 4 will not practice today. Jarek McKinnon and Nick Bolton will practice today. So there you go. Red zone, 2-point conversion, Wanya Morris, the quarterback and receiver not on the same page.
I would like to talk about that at some point today, Jason. I don't know how soon we're going to hear Patrick Mahomes.
Here's Patrick.
Andy about this, but late fourth quarter situation is something I know you guys have really taken a lot of pride on over the years. Hasn't really worked out this year. Is there small sample size? Was there something you can pinpoint for what you guys need to execute those situations better?
I think you just got to continue with it. It's not always going to go your way. We want it to. But I thought we were doing a good job on that drive before I threw the interception. And even in the last drive, I thought we got down the field and gave ourselves a chance in a kind of a bad situation. So you just kind of keep with it and just trust that the guys are gonna we're gonna make it work in the end, and hopefully in the playoffs or in the last part of the season we can convert some of those drives.
Coach revealed that, or said there's a good chance Wanya Morris gets to start left tackle. How far have you seen him come along, and just your confidence level, what he can do?
Yeah, he's played well. If you watch his tape of the last game and the limited snaps that he's been in the game, he's done a great job on the run game and the pass game. I think now just trying to get him prepared for a great defensive line. A lot of the games and stuff that they do and the stunts. But as far as playing the position, he's done a great job.
Patrick, is there anything, obviously it's a process in the passing game every year, is there anything new or different that you can do, think you should do to, I don't know, kind of accelerate the pace of the chemistry with the guys? Or is it just you got to do day in, day out?
Yeah, you just come into work and try to get better. That's all you can do. I think the guys have done a great job of trying to do that. We're going to continue to get better. I thought we had a lot of great things from the last game. Obviously, just didn't execute in the red zone. So it's the little things in this league that are the difference between winning and losing. And so we'll continue to focus on those and try to get better going into this week.
And really nothing extra or different you can see to do other than keep on keeping on?
Yeah, I mean, you work on the stuff that didn't work out during the game. You try to adjust those things and maximize the stuff that you did well. But at the same time, I mean, this league's close. And these games come down to one score, and it's whoever executes the small things that come out with the win.
Patrick, sometimes, though, you speak not about the receivers. This year, they're behind a microscope a lot more than previous years. How are they mentally?
They seem like they're in a great spot. I mean, in the locker room, I think everybody knows that we're all trying to go out there and be great and try to win football games. And I have a lot of trust in those guys, and I see how hard they're working. And so for us, it's about kind of keeping it within the locker room. I mean, we're still sitting there on top of the AFC West, and I think we have a lot of the stuff out in front of us. We have to go out there and capitalize on it. And I think if we can start this week with a great week of practice and try to beat a really good football team, Buffalo Bills, it's kind of like next week we'll be talking about how great we are. So it's kind of this how the NFL works.
You've been on, speaking of which, you've been on teams here that have lost games in clusters, like 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5. Is there any? You ever noticed any confidence issue in the room because of that, or in the locker room? Or
I haven't. I mean, I've been on the team that was 6-4, and I think we won the Super Bowl. So it's we have confidence every week that we're going to find a way to win the football game. Obviously, these last few weeks we've lost a couple, but we still have that mindset, and we understand the challenge that's in front of us. But at the same time, all you can do is go to work every single day and get better, and then go out and give whatever you can on the football field.
Does this situation feel a little different to you, just given what's going on offensively right now?
Not necessarily. I mean, for me, it's just you got to continue to get better and better throughout a season. I mean, we want to always win 14, 15, whatever games every year, but that's not how the NFL works. It's about parity and bringing teams together. And like I said, we're sitting here 8-4, and we're going up against a great team. And if we can go out there and find a way to get a win, we can just try to build off that momentum and try to ride that through the playoffs. And so 8-4 is 8-4 at the end of the day, and we have to continue to get better and better.
Patrick, does having gone through those tough stretches that Blair alluded to, does that inform how you can see things now? I mean, does it tell you, well, of course we can get it the way we want it because we've done it before?
Yeah, I think just seasons, you never know how they're turn out. You don't know if you're going to lose games in kind of spread out fashion or kind of clump them all together. But all you can do is focus on that next week. You wash it and focus on that day. How can I get better today? And how can I focus on the opponent that we're playing upcoming? And so you never know how the season's going to go, but if you can continue to get better and better throughout the season and be playing your best football going into the playoffs, that's usually a good thing.
Patrick, you joked a second ago about how everyone will love you again if you're able to defeat the Bills. How early do you learn you can't really pay any attention to the reactions on a week by week basis?
Yeah, I think I learned from Coach Reed. I mean, you always see him. He's never too high, never too low. He's just kind of focused on the task at hand. How can he get us into the best position to play the best football we can that day? And so that's how my mindset is. No matter if we win and everybody's loving us, or if we lose and everybody's kind of down on us, you just got to focus on how can I get myself better and prepare for that next game. And I think if you do that, that kind of puts everything where you can kind of in perspective, where you can kind of go out there and just be the best you can be.
Patrick, I know you guys work on every situation in camp and different things. When you talk about the Hail Mary, the kind of jump ball thing, I mean, as an outsider, it looks like no flag has ever been thrown. Like the guys get mauled down there, right? And nobody throws a flag. Is there a technique or a conversation that you have or a way you throw the ball to try to go around the fact that referees never, ever call pass interference in those situations?
Yeah, it's tough because there's so many guys that are all in the same area. And we talk about it and we say they're not going to throw flags. They're gonna let the guys go out there and play. The one on Trav was a little aggressive, just because the guy pushed him out of the way, and that's the kind of the guy that's we want to be in the middle, going up and get the ball. So I mean, at some point there's got to be a flag, but at the same time we do tell the guys they're not going to throw a lot of flags in that situation.
Sam, Patrick, just you guys obviously didn't have as many possessions against Green Bay the way they were draining the clock. When you look at the last 2 games, are there signs of the offense that you do see that progress just over the past couple weeks on a per play basis? It's been improved.
Yeah, no, I mean when I was watching the game, kind of after the game, I mean I thought we did a lot of great things. If you can capitalize in those red zone ball on the 5-yard line, you got to find a way to get in the end zone on those first 2 drives, and you get 14 points. It's a whole new football game. But that's the little things that we have to continue to get better at. We did a lot of great things until that 4th quarter. I made a few reads I'd probably want to take back and go to other spots just because of the way the play kind of was designed. But other than that, I mean, I thought guys did a great job, and if I can just not make that mistake at the end of the game, I think we'll have a chance to win it there at the end.
Steve, Patrick, you've earned about every award you can think of in the league. Now you're the Chiefs nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, just the group, the fraternity of guys that have come before me that have won that award. Yeah. And then not even only that, I think just this team and how much it means to give back to the community and be a part of this community that's given so much to us. It truly is an honor. It's hard. It's got to be hard to pick when you look at guys like Travis Kelce, Justin Reed, Trey Smith. I mean, there's so many guys that do so much for the community. I'm just glad that I was able to be honored to be in that group that gets to go and be at the Super Bowl and listen to all the stories of all the guys giving back to these great communities. It truly is it's a great honor.
Last 2 were Todd and then Nate. Go Todd.
After the game, you talked about the interception, and then the Packers player had mentioned he thought he saw a tap of the knee and pick things up. Just wondering if you can take us into the cat and mouse game, not specifically what you guys do, but kind of how you have to disguise that stuff in games and every week to make sure those things don't happen.
Yeah, we change them up a lot. I saw he said that he saw the thing and he knew the play, but it's the first time I've checked that play in my history of playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he definitely saw a signal. He did a great job, made a great play, a game-changing play. But just try to be more subtle, I guess, for myself to try to get us to the right spot where we can make a play happen.
Nate?
Patrick, I was just going to ask, kind of building off that, how much does that happen? Whether you have the freedom to make checks or just how often do you feel like you get the opportunity to sort of make those calls, even though you know what the play call originally is?
Yeah, no, Coach Reed gives me the freedom on every play to check us and get us into the best play. And I do a lot of signals. Some are real, some aren't real. It's all about trying to play that cat and mouse game of, like you were saying, of trying to confuse the defense. And they got me on that one, made a big time play, and I'll learn from it and try to be better next time.
What's your percentage if you had to ballpark it?
Percentage of success, you say?
Yeah.
Been pretty high. I mean, I would say we've been able to score points in my career. So I think just trying to be better this year because obviously we need to score more points and win more football games.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, there you go. There's Patrick Mahomes. It's funny, the signal there of what Nixon said. I saw him do that. I had watched film. He'd done it before. I knew the exact play, which is weird because if he didn't know the play, if he was man-to-man and Sky Moore was running an out route, I don't think Nixon would be heading towards, where he expects Sky Moore to go on like a wheel route, right? He would be trying to cut over as sharp as possible to get Sky Moore on the out route. So maybe he saw some things that maybe he expected that sort of rub route if they're in that defense. But Andy Reid pushed back on Monday of it's sort of be difficult if he knew that particular signal. And then Patrick Mahomes saying there, well, it's the first time I've checked into that play in my entire career here with the Chiefs, so not sure what he saw on that. But yeah, so that's interesting. Hopefully it's the last.
Was it just the check into that route for Sky then we think? Because Andy Reid said before, he said that is something that they can check to on that route. Again, being a unique play we check to, I think that's the phrase I wrote. I hope that's the exact quote on what ended up being that pick. So I don't know. I'm sure there are a million intricacies at each level where I wonder where the exact truth lines up. Because I imagine that Reed and Mahomes are both telling the truth, and I don't know why the Packers defensive back would lie about that just completely flatly. So I don't know. There's a little more intrigue in there.
I think his play on the ball and that route overall would lead me to believe that he did know that route was coming. For whatever reason. It might have been coincidental that that hand signal and to check into that specific play was for Sky Moore. It might have been to where he's like, okay, so these two guys over here, we're in man-to-man, we're single high. If I get beat over the top, this is a big gain. This is a chunk play. Because if you look at the space on the field, if Nixon goes underneath, if he's playing, bump and run, like man-to-man up in the face of Sky Moore, and Rashee Rice runs that, shallow cross rub route, Sky Moore turns the corner, there's nobody there. I mean, Sky Moore is catching it and running with one guy to beat in the open field. That's not what he did. He's man-to-man, and he just went directly to where the ball was going to land, as if he was meeting Sky Moore at the spot that Sky Moore was running to before Sky Moore ran there.
Yes.
So there has to be an element of truth from his perspective in that he saw that coming. It might have been lucked into it,
right,
that the Chiefs that's the first time they did that, and he was like, well, I've seen this before, and whatever it might be. He saw it. He made a great play. It was the biggest game-changing play of the entire game. It added 13% of a win probability for the Eagles on that one play.
That's crazy. So they were playing the Packers.
Damn it. It helped out the Eagles, and it didn't matter because they still lost to the 49ers. Isn't that crazy?
Well, this is good. I actually get to unveil what
these green teams and losses for the Chiefs. Damn it.
It's actually the Kumar Rado Rockers.
That's right. Thank you. Yes, it added 13% win probability to the Packers.
That is
on that one play.
That's huge. What a swing.
And -4 expected points added. Like those things happen in a game. They're massive swings. A play here, a play there can be the entire difference in a game. You grind and you spend all week practicing, studying, preparing, going through the game plan. You get in the game, and it's like, boy, if these two plays are different, you win the game.
Nixon's quote here is we were watching mannerisms tape earlier in the week, and Mahomes tapped his knee, and they put 2 off the ball, and I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. I knew he was going to run it, and he ran it. So that could be simplified down to I knew Sky Moore was going to run this route, and he ran this route, but maybe Mahomes is sort of expanding it to say, well, we haven't run that play with that check before.
We've never checked into that play of an RPO that I could give it to Pacheco, as Andy Reid likes to say. I could give it to Pacheco with the offensive line creating a massive hole in the middle there, or I can go on this what would be one-on-one on the outside and man-to-man coverage with a single high, that I've got space there to get the ball to Sky Moore. That specific, both could be true.
And Nixon saying "I knew" could be a little bit of just sort of a burp of the language to be like, well, I saw that and then I made the pick, so I knew that it was going that way.
Yeah.
But in reality, maybe it was, this has meant something like this before, so I was thinking that this is what Sky's going to do.
Yep.
I don't know. There's again the cat and mouse game of it all is really fun, and this gives us a little more insight into it when it seems like the 3 guys who are most involved in that play, Sky Moore also, I think he mentioned it being a check. The 4 guys most involved in that play might all have a little disagreement on what exactly Nixon saw. It's kind of interesting.
Let's take a short break. Let's do that because we're told Chris Jones is still in the locker room. So I know this is an audible. We're going to check into this play, Dylan. I apologize. Nobody saw this one coming. Take that, Nixon. I've never done that before. This is the first time I've ever checked into let's take an early break in my entire career here.
That is true and shocking. So, Dylan, make sure you really burst off the line here. Don't lollygag on your way.
So we may have to break out of this break when Chris Jones gets there, but he's still in the locker room right now.
No, Dylan, hit the button!
against a very, very good Philadelphia Eagles defense. So they're able to put up a lot of points, whether it's running the ball. I think they had 173 rushing yards. Or Josh Allen throwing the ball. I think he threw the ball 53 times last week. So they're able to put up points. We got to watch a little more film, see how we can stop them.
Seems like there's a little bit added intensity when the Bills meet up with the Chiefs. What's your explanation for that?
I think any AFC game we play is intensified because of the magnitude of the game.
Chris, you've been on teams here that have had stretches where they've lost 2 games, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 5, that sort of thing, kind of where you are now. What does it take to get out of something like this? And because each time it's happened.
We can't lose no 3 out of 4 and no 3 out of 5 right now. It's a critical situation for us, especially where we're trying to be. One in the next few weeks. We got to correct the errors and we got to correct it fast.
Looks like Nick could be back in the mix this week. How much of a boost would that be for you?
I'm excited to have my linebacker back. That's my linebacker, man. I'm so excited to have him back. I know he makes a huge difference for this defense. His leadership, his play calling, his adjustments to the game. He does a tremendous job for us as a leader.
Chris, last couple of games, opening 2 possessions for the other team, resulted in something you didn't want. What are you guys trying to do to maybe get off to a faster start than you have in the last couple of games?
We'll fix it.
Is there a rhyme or reason to the run game against you guys just being a little bit more successful these past few games? Anything that you could put your finger on and you guys can adjust moving forward?
The front 4 will be better.
Hey, Chris.
Thank you,
All right, so there's Chris Jones, or somewhat Chris Jones. Very quick, brief.
Can I get a little acknowledgement of my conspiracy theory that nobody really wants this, but it's just what's happening anyway? Did today sound like a guy who wanted to be at the podium?
Well, you know what? He got there earlier than last week, and last week he sounded close to somebody that might have been at the podium. But as soon as he started talking, it's like, oh, well, okay.
He talked post-game. Why?
Yeah.
Why? It's the exact same trio we got post-game.
He's excited to have his linebacker back. That's my linebacker. It's the new one that's my quarterback. That's my linebacker.
Except for this time, I'm the one who's choking up.
Nick Bolton, hopefully back this weekend against the Bills. They could certainly use him. And look, the question there that I think is a good one, because we talked about it, that, you know, what the Raiders and the Packers both did against the Chiefs early in the game was pound the rock, run it right at them. Not much, you know, that was fancy. It was A.J. Dillon up the middle and being a tough, hard-nosed runner. Josh Jacobs, one of the better runners in the NFL, right at you. And, you know, obviously he had the 63-yard run, but he had almost 100 yards in the first half, did Josh Jacobs. A.J. Dillon ended up with, 70 yards in the game. And Chris Jones' answer was, it's the front 4, we'll get it fixed. Okay. We'll see. There was a lot of we'll get it fixed. We're working on it. We just got to keep working. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. I wonder if that's the common theme, as Blair was asking about, you know, this stretch of going 2-3 over these 5 games and the different stretches of football that they've played throughout the years of Patrick Mahomes, outside of 1 year, 2020, when they did not have some sort of a stretch where they had 2 losses in at least 4 games or whatever. Maybe that's the common theme of that whole thing is, oh, we'll get it fixed. Well, that's on me. Well, just mistakes. We'll get it fixed. We'll figure it out. No, it's going to be better. We just got to keep working.
It's been the theme every game after a loss for the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it is the persistent theme. I'm searching for. I just searched the phrase "get it fixed" through all my post game transcripts here,
Oh,
and
God.
I've got a lot of hits, Jason. Some of these go back. Some of these do go back years.
Like Taylor Swift.
Let's
got a lot of
see if
hits.
we can find this. I'd love to shake this one off. Here, so
oh no.
The oldest example that immediately pops up for me is from 2020. So we've been on this for a while. Andy Reid says here it was a bit of a mess, but we'll get it fixed. I was asked about his face mask fogging up. So it's not all bad, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes it's a little bit silly, but oftentimes it's getting it fixed.
But to
off a tick.
To Blair's point, as Blair was asking the questions, and we were in between interviews, I went back and looked and just sort of jotted some notes down to what Blair was talking about. In 2018, the Chiefs had a stretch of where they went 2-3, and that put them at 11-4. So that was a 9-1 team, and they went 2-3 over their next 5 games. They played in the AFC Championship game that year. Well, the theme of getting to the AFC Championship game is going to continue. But in 2019, they went 2-4 in 6 games, which put them at 6-4 because they were 4-0. And then they were trash. And they didn't lose again after that 2-4 stretch. They went 9-0 and won the Super Bowl. 2020, they didn't have that. They had the loss to the Raiders. They had the loss to the Chargers when they didn't have anybody. They didn't have their starters out there. And then they lost the Super Bowl. We're talking about stretches in the regular season. 2021, they opened the season at 3-4. And they ended up playing in the AFC Championship game. They ended up going 11-5. After they opened up the season 3-4, their only losses the rest of the way were the Bengals. That was it. And then last year, they started out 2-0, and then they went 2-2 over their next 4 games. They went 13-1 the rest of the year and won the Super Bowl. They started out 6-1, and now they're 8-4. Do they end up with 5 losses on the season overall? Do they end up with 4 losses on the season overall? Because again, in 2019, that 2-4 stretch, all of a sudden they were 6-4. They lost 4 games that entire season, including the playoffs. We've seen this happen before, and we've seen these stretches before. I don't know if it's different in the fact that the offense looks as anemic as it does, and that's why it becomes even more of an issue of how they're playing. Or do we go through these moments in 2021 starting the season, in 2022, and going back to 2019 when the knee was in the wrong place, or the kneecap was in the wrong place for Patrick Mahomes, et cetera. Go back to the and because the end of the season is what we remember the most, we gloss over that time where in the middle of it, week by week, show by show, it was a what in the hell's going on, and this team is not even going to win the division. How are they going to make it through the playoffs? They can't beat the Patriots, certainly. Well, the Ravens, good luck playing the Ravens in the playoffs. Now you're going to have to go to Baltimore because of what's been going on, because of that struggle that you had. Wow, they've opened up the season 3-4. This team has been figured out. They lost the Super Bowl to the Bucs. That dominated them. And Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown. The offense didn't score a touchdown. And then they're 3-4 in their first 7 games. This team is broken. And then they went to the AFC Championship game again. So it's one of the things that I tweeted out a couple weeks ago after the Eagles game when I said something along the lines, paraphrasing, after the game was over. I said, February 11th, we'll sit here and be talking about the Super Bowl and look back and forget all about everybody's frustrations tonight in the loss of the Eagles and say, what happened there in that stretch of football that they were playing? And then next year, we'll forget all about it and do it again. That was without going and with Blair saying, what he had said in the questions that are there, just going and looking at this stretch of football they're playing and how, common it is for this particular team, this group of players, to have a stretch like this. And it's also the NFL, because you are not going to be playing perfect football every single game. But this team has found a way that when it gets into crunch time in December and January, they do end up playing close to their best football, and they win those games. And we're talking about, since that 2018 team, losing 1 time in the playoffs, non-Super Bowl related, losing 1 time in the playoffs. And that's to the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime. That's with a 2-4 stretch, a 3-4 stretch, a 2-2 stretch in those 3 seasons. Now, just because it's happened before doesn't mean it'll happen this time, because there was a feel of a bigger, wider margin for error in those seasons, right? Did it feel like there was a wide margin for error in 2019 when they were 6-4?
Not at 6-4.
And they had just lost to the Titans? They went 9-0. And we say, boy, that margin for error for that team was really wide because they were down double digits in all those games, and they still found a way to come back because they just simply won, and they were so much better than the other teams they were playing that they could do that. 6-4, that was not the conversation.
They could make up more ground more quickly, ultimately,
with the offense.
But their margin for error, it changes where you're putting the trust of this football team.
Yeah, I think what Blair's getting at and invoking some of the feelings of years past maybe helps, maybe adds context. I don't know to what's going on right now. I don't think it does or even should change frustrations from Chiefs fans right now. This is a team that is compared to themselves. It is not a team to, hey, can they win the division? Can they make the playoffs? There are other teams out there. The way the Denver Broncos are playing, there's a lot more optimism in Denver right now than maybe there is in Kansas City.
I think there is.
But from different perspectives.
The vibes in Denver radio right now are brighter than the vibes here right now.
Yeah.
No one thinks the Broncos are a better football team than the Chiefs.
And zero chance you would change places with them, even though the vibe is a little bit brighter. A little bit more uplifting there. I ain't changing places with the Broncos.
I would change wide receiver depth charts. And also, actually, to think about it for a second, is there anything else you would one-for-one swap with the Broncos? There might be. I'm trying to think now, injuries and all, but trying to put that away.
Can I exchange Jalen Watson for Patrick Surtain?
You cannot. You could exchange Trent McDuffie for Patrick Surtain, and I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to do that, is what I should say.
No, if I'm getting Surtain, I want to take
if
Watson
If you
or
are
Williams.
going to do an equivalent swap of stuff, like, all right, sorry, Rashee Rice, it hurts to let you go, but Cortland Sutton's there, and whoever's the second receiver will take Jerry Jeudy, and et cetera. But, like, we're talking about one position group that the Broncos might have that might be meaningfully better than the Chiefs. Yeah. And they have the better vibes right now.
Yeah.
Vibes are not an analytic. They are not a stat.
Advanced vibes.
Advanced vibes.
The AV is much better in Denver right now.
The expected vibes added in Denver right now, they're like plus 7.5 on EVA. And the Chiefs are -9, actually, in EVA, which is tough. But they are, in fact, still in a pretty good spot to get the 1 seed if they just beat the Bills.
We'll see what those vibes are at 7 o'clock on Sunday when Josh Brisco comes on the air. Hopefully, it's a fun show. Hopefully, it's such a fun show that you don't even have to take phone calls. That nobody calls in.
Either way, I bet we're going to get some calls.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we're going to either have some real happy calls or some real profane ones. I meant sad ones.
We'll take a time out. We'll come back, continue rolling here on this Wednesday edition. We'll talk and hang out with Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. More Zone next. Case HB41 sports director is what he does. I was talking about some of the massive plays that took place in the game against the Packers with Cynthia Freeland. Just as, there's some noise, there's some any given Sunday, there's the greatness of the NFL, there's also sort of margin for error, things like that. But in the last 2 losses for the Chiefs against the Packers, 6 of the top 8 plays in terms of expected points added and win probability percentage went the Packers' way. 6 of the top 8. 4 of the top 5 went the Packers' way.
That is how you build an upset.
And those 4 plays alone added for the Packers 13.3 points, expected points added, and 36.5% win probability. 4 plays. The interception, Patrick Mahomes' interception, 4th and 1, 2nd and 16, that was the miscommunication, L'Jarius Sneed, whoever was supposed to have Romeo Doubs on 2nd and 16, 3rd and 5 touchdown when there were 2 spies on Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, by the Chiefs. And Christian Watson eventually sprung wide open over the middle. And that was literally a 4-point play. We know that. But in terms of expected points added, all of that stuff, it doesn't come to exactly 4. But 13.3 points for the Packers in those 4 plays, and more than a third of the entire win probability of the game in those 4 plays. If we look at the Eagles, 3 of the top 4 plays went the Eagles' way. Interception, targeted for Justin Watson, interception in the end zone. Travis Kelce's fumble. The interception by the Chiefs, L'Jarius Sneed, attempted for A.J. Brown. That was for the Chiefs. And then Donovan Smith's 41-yard catch. Those were the top 4 plays.
He's got great range for a tackle.
Gosh darn it. Whatever his name is, okay? It's not A.J. Brown. He caught a touchdown in the national championship game. It was Tua and Long. Or 2nd and Tua, whatever. So I just told you what the win probability of those 4 plays came up to 36.5% added for the Packers. Those 4 plays, in which one of them was for the Chiefs, what do you think the win probability added?
Okay, sorry, I wasn't ready for that specific. Give me the Packers total again.
So the Packers total was 36.5% on those 4 plays.
Okay.
These 4 plays for the Eagles includes one that's a positive for the Chiefs. So the Packers 36.5%. What's the win probability added for the Eagles in those 4 total plays?
I mean, there's a good Chiefs play in there, so it's got to be less. I'm going to say 22%.
Okay. 43.3%.
Whoa! What?
Crazy, right?
That's more.
I know.
That is actually legit crazy.
That's because the Justin Watson, the interception in the end zone and the Kelce fumble came to a total of 30% win probability for the Eagles. Almost a third of the game on those 2 plays. So, that's football. That happens. It's also part of margin for error, et cetera, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's also where, sky is falling after the Eagles game, sky's falling after the Packers game, and it's like 2 plays in the Packers and 2 plays in the Eagles. If they switch, the Chiefs win both of them. But they didn't.
Right.
You can't do the ifs and buts on those plays. But it's also part of moving forward. When you see a big play happen for the Chiefs, what I'm saying is if the Chiefs are getting some of those bigger plays, they are difficult to beat. It's going to be tough for a team to beat the Chiefs if the big plays are just even back and forth.
Right. It's a great Rorschach test. I'm not sure that there is a right or wrong answer here, but when you look at that disparity, you can look at it and learn about yourself by looking at it and saying, well, if the Chiefs start landing some of those, they're a much better football team than this. You can also, throughout sports in general, moments like that are what we usually call clutch or unclutch.
Mm-hmm.
You have a late game red zone turnover, frauds. Not clutch. Can't do it in the playoffs. Can't do it in the big games. But we've seen many of those characters, Mahomes, Kelce particularly, do it in the biggest of games, right? So we don't really correlate that to the Chiefs being unclutch or not being ready for the bright lights. But that is the kind of stuff that we typically look at when we're trying to find a way to quantify it. And in reality, most of the time, it's kind of random.
It's kind of noise.
It's just kind of statistical noise where eventually this weird sport with the oblong ball is going to bounce one way or the other. And because even if Travis Kelce fumbles the football and the Chiefs recover, not even, if he would have scored there. No. Just have the ball take a wonky bounce and have a lineman just ready there to fall on the football. Changes everything.
Absolutely. Let's hear from Trent McDuffie, who has been phenomenal for the Chiefs this year. But the defense gave up the most points all season in that Packers game, 27 points. They are 0-4 on the season when they allow 21 or more points. The Chiefs are. They have not won a game where an opposing team has scored 21 points. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, here's Trent McDuffie in the locker room with Todd Lebo.
The slow starts. Can you put a finger on why it's been the 2 weeks in a row now, giving up the 14 points on the first 2 possessions?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really tell you what the sole reason is for that. Starting slow, but that's definitely an emphasis. You know, defense got to come out and make a statement and start the game off fast. So this week we're looking to do that.
The Bills, what kind of challenge do they present defensively with a lot of the skilled players and guys they got?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they got a quarterback that can do it all in Josh Allen. I mean, a great quarterback, can use his feet, got a strong arm. Receiving core is great. You know, they got Stephon Diggs, who's an X-factor receiver, and a couple other guys who can make plays. So definitely a challenge for the back end, definitely a challenge for all 11. But I think if we just do what the defense has been doing all year, and that's showing up on tape and making plays out there and stopping the run and being disciplined, I think we have a good shot.
Did you miss that game last year? Were you not back for the Buffalo game?
Yeah, I was hurt.
You were still hurt.
Yeah,
What do you remember about that one as you watched it?
A lot of plays that were made and also that could be made. A lot of energy. I mean, I know it was a home game last year, so the crowd was definitely with it. So a lot of energy, and looking back at it, I know Josh Allen used his feet a lot, so he was definitely scrambling all around. And on the back end, this means we have the plaster, and also as rushers, we got to make sure that we contain that edge because don't let them out of the pocket.
You haven't been scared to put your nose in to tackle anyone on a run game or whatever, right? He's a different size quarterback than a lot. I mean, you haven't had to tackle him yet, but what sort of a challenge is that when there's a guy who's that big who's willing to run around the end?
Yeah, I think one of his big things that allows him to get out the pocket so well is that stiff arm, and you can see that show up all over the tape. And for a tall guy like that with a big wingspan, it's definitely going to pose a challenge. But again, I don't think anybody on this defense is scared to go up and tackle him 6'5" and all that. So definitely gives us a good challenge, and love the way he runs, love the way he plays. But yeah, I think we'll be ready for him.
Patrick mentioned this is go time. I know this is December now. You're in December football.
Yeah.
Coming off a loss, you know, how much does this kind of the locker room here know that this is time to get it going?
Yeah, man. Honestly, you got to let people know. I mean, the coaches say it, and it's something that I think just us players understand, that December to remember is what they always say. And it's a time where we got to really lock in, we got to focus, and we got to take the next step. And looking back, I think we're ready for it, you know, to take the next step. And I think a good week of practice and just focusing on those details of the game plan and what they're going to do is going to get us right back to where we were.
Hey, Trent, your coverage has been so good all year. What did you see from the Packers tape?
Yeah, honestly, eye discipline. Got a little lazy with the eyes, and they didn't really show anything different that we didn't know. I think they just made more plays than we did, and that's frustrating. You know, as a back end, you always want to be the most dominant. So they got our number last week for sure, but we're definitely going to turn the page and get ready for this week.
Just for the layman, how is that important? I just
man, I mean, that's really everything. I mean, you talk about man-to-man, not peeking back at the quarterback too soon because the receiver can still break. Whether it's motion shifts, I mean, the officers do a lot of good job at getting defensive backs' eyes, maybe on the quarterback, looking at something different than what we're supposed to be doing in our defense. So just making sure you hone in on your keys, hone in on what you got to do each and every rep is a huge thing.
And you've spent all year showing you guys are an elite defense. How important is this next week to kind of showing that you guys are still that, maybe not what you've been the last couple of weeks?
I think this defense does a good job of just taking each week, week by week, you know, not looking ahead, but also not looking back, you know, and not getting frustrated with the little things. So we have a great game plan. You know, we have coaches who are going to push us, and we have leaders on this team that's going to pull each other along. So last week was last week, but looking forward now, this defense is definitely going to get back to what we know.
Any college football playoff bets around here? You got a lot of
Man,
guys.
I got UW all day. Anybody want to bet me? We can bet, bro. I got UW going all the way for sure.
You got Charles here. He's a Texas
I got
guy.
Charles. We got Casey. I mean, man, them Texas boys, let me tell you, they've been talking all week. So it's been fun. And they got a long time. I tell them they're talking so early. We got like 3 weeks to the game. But, yeah, definitely a little trash talk going on.
You've been up there a
UW.
couple times, and you've been pretty impressed with what you've seen. Obviously, they're doing so great.
Nah, they the truth. I'm telling you, they the truth. Especially the thing about my last year there, we won 4 games, didn't even make a bowl game, and 2 years later, they're undefeated going to the playoffs. So that just shows you what that team's about and what the coaching staff who came in is also about. So I got UW all day.
So, Todd, very shock jockey there.
Trying to entrap Trent McDuffie, I
just
think.
said, "Are you betting with the players?" And he said, "I'll bet." Are you betting here? Any bets on the college football playoff around here? Not around here, Todd. No, we are not betting around here. Right outside on Raytown Road. Yes, right after we get across George Brett Bridge, we have made lots of bets on college. I'll bet anybody here. No, you won't, Trent.
Why did Lebo ask Trent McDuffie if he was running an illicit sports book for his teammates to all bet on the college football playoff? That was a weird thing for Lebo to ask.
Really, yeah. He would have been better off asking who's the Washington football coach. Which
I don't.
Isn't it amazing?
I don't.
What's up? DeBoer. Yeah, it is. I'm just saying, like, it is amazing, though. They're in the playoff, and it's like Washington's coach, the guy's been really good.
I so aggressively didn't know what that bit was or who he was that I thought maybe there was a different joke I was missing other than just not being able
just,
to.
Guys at Fresno State gets hired at UW, and all he does is go 24-2.
That seems good
so far. Really, they're 24-2 since Trent McDuffie left. Let's be honest here.
Wow,
okay, as he
holding them
said,
back.
we won 4 games and didn't even win a bowl game when I was there. Now they're undefeated 2 years later. Yeah, and they won the Alamo Bowl last year. What's the problem, Trent? I see correlation causation, not an entire new coaching staff. That's just me. There's Trent McDuffie, who
They don't
was
even have a real conference. I mean,
being interviewed by the assembled media on the sidelines of a basketball game. So Todd said, very active today in the locker room with basketball. A lot of offensive linemen, mainly Jawan Taylor. I was just wondering who was trying to play basketball because there were a lot of sounds of the ball hitting the rim very hard.
Yeah.
That didn't sound like there was much of a shooter's touch taking place there in the locker room.
So once you pointed that out, I started to track the shooting percentage,
Hell
and that's
yeah.
about midway through.
Okay, fantastic.
So I'm
work,
doing the
Dylan.
best with the ears that I had on that, and it was 16 for 3. So whoever was playing each other, or maybe
3 for 16 or 16
Usually
for
the little
3?
number
Excuse
goes
me,
first. Still a
my
great
bad,
bit, Dylan.
My bad.
Well, you know what? Mick is in
Inverse
here,
fractions.
Mick, and he's thinking Mick always has the big number first, always the big number first, always the big number first. So Dylan got intimidated there.
Yep.
3 of 16 from 3.
You can
I can't resist anymore.
don't-
It's a soft rim in there. Okay, so it's a very forgiving rim. So I
Doesn't
would just
sound
say
like
this
it.
a lot of
It's a
times.
19%
when you
shooting
hear that
percentage.
clang of the rim, it's gonna roll over and go in, or maybe hit off the backboard
Okay.
and come back down and go
I don't
in.
believe it.
Okay.
I don't believe it. I've never played on a rim that sounds like that the ball goes in.
Some of those guys are such bad shooters; they need that rim. The
It's
O
a very
linemen
soft-
are typically the best because a lot of times, they're 6'6", right?
Yeah.
And they played post in high school, and they were a lot skinnier, and so they played all through high school football. A lot of times, the linebackers, the running backs, a lot of times didn't play basketball. So
and they do actually just have a hula hoop duct tape to a backboard in there, which does help.
it's a real goal.
Feels like I'm throwing this ball through a hula hoop. He is actually. He's literally doing that.
It's actually,
How high is it? It's not.
it's 10 feet.
Is it really 10
Yes.
feet?
So it's actually Jack Cochran hung up there, and he's putting his arms in a circle.
Just mark that down. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
just standing up there.
They throw it off his face to the back.
Not anymore. Now that he's active, now they have to find somebody else there. Cornell Powell is now
It's a
up
low
there.
ceiling, so the arc you definitely can't get the arc you want, right? I mean,
No, but nobody's shooting 3-pointers. It's free throw, elbow, distance at best.
Oh, and they were 3 of 16 from there.
Although, I mean, it's a high enough ceiling. It's not bad. So yeah,
I've been in there
Ceiling
this year. It's been a minute, so maybe
is
I'm
the roof.
misremembering.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More on next.
you guys. That was a bit we were doing for like 4 years.
One of us needs to leave, Mick. We've already finished an hour together here now, so
yeah.
I was going to volunteer. I was hoping.
Nope, he volunteered as tribute.
I was hoping he'd push back a little bit, and then I'd say, "Oh, okay, I'll fall on the sword, and I'll go ahead and leave early." But
you made a mistake.
Well, you know what? His phone's still in here. So what do you want to do with the next 30 seconds, Jason?
Unlock it and let's have some fun. Let's randomly call some people.
Dylan, smile.
Smile, Dylan.
Jason, smile.
Hey, let's do a selfie.
Oh, look at him. Look at that guy.
Yeah. Hey, let me see it. I want to tweet something.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We welcome in Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director here.
A little premature today. I was a little premature on the show.
We got ads for that, man. It's okay.
We do.
I went early.
It's all good in this hood. Can we hear from Willie Gay? I know this isn't a longer clip, as Todd Lebo or whoever else was in the locker room while maybe Todd got picked up on a basketball team or something. You know, Todd's he wrote his name on the chalkboard. Lebo. I got next.
He was all second team rec league back in Truman in 1980 something.
Intramurals at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
His team finished at least in the top 15.
Yeah.
At least every year of the 14
When he
teams.
was at Oklahoma, he watched a lot of good basketball players. Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, keep going. All right, here's Willie Gay and
Stacey King.
Whatever he had to say in the locker room.
Tell me, what have you guys seen so far checking the Bills out this week, getting ready for them?
Really, man, the same team we played last year, the year before that. You know, they got a quarterback that can do it all. Offense that's explosive. Team that can put up points. Like I said, a quarterback is ran through the quarterback. Obviously, he can run the ball, throw the ball. They got weapons in the backfield with Cook and 28 and whoever else they try to use, and especially the receivers on the outside, 14, 13, and the new guys. So they got weapons all over.
Allen runs the ball a lot, right? And that's maybe he's a bigger guy than a lot of the quarterbacks. What's that challenge like to get him to the ground when he takes off?
Just being in your run lane, your gap, your responsibilities, doing the little details of the defense, and you put yourself in position to stop it. You make a stone wall up front, and so make them bounce it on the edges, and that's our task for this week.
You guys had a couple of rough starts the first quarter against the Packers and the Raiders. Things got better throughout the game. How do you go about getting the start to be a little bit better and not have those touchdowns?
Yeah, just the little details, man, that you sometimes fix within the game. So sometimes when you start off, it happens. But definitely want to get consistent with starting fast and finishing fast. So this week is definitely something we want to focus on, starting even faster than last week and the week before, so for sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hopefully they do start faster than last week and the week before. Like, we want to start even faster than last week and the week before. Yeah, that's that should be the plan.
They went backwards, I think.
Yeah,
That's how fast they went. That was their speed.
Every week it should be the plan for them to start faster. But it is Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie both saying emphasis on make a statement, start fast. That what we've been doing in this season has been doing that, but the last couple of weeks that is not the case. Now the emphasis is make a statement early on, start fast. We'll find out. We'll find out what they look like against the Bills. The Bills have a good offense, and Josh Allen is still a damn fine quarterback, and they've got some playmakers in Stephon Diggs and James Cook, and Kincaid is still healthy, and apparently Gabe Davis is Jerry Rice when he plays the
Kansas
Chiefs.
City, yes.
So Gabe Davis and Josh Palmer, unguardable against the Chiefs. Unguardable.
I'm not sure Gabriel Davis is even active in any of these other games outside of the ones against the Chiefs.
Probably right. Somebody compared him
I think
to
it was Nate Tice that said he's an MVS comp. Like, that's the best comparison to any other receiver in football.
I've never seen MVS have 4 touchdowns in one game like he did in the
that's-
playoffs against the Chiefs.
It'd be awesome if I saw him have 4 catches in one game.
Deal. Bet. Yes. Correct.
Apparently Andy Reid
Bring
thinks
everyone together.
Andy Reid thinks MVS is not playing enough.
Man, we're gonna have
Do
to.
you want to weigh in on that, Josh? Is that something you wanted to weigh in on? Andy Reid was talking about players getting on the same page and
since you mentioned it. Well, since
MVS.
guys, since you mentioned Mick, since you mentioned it.
So do you know he's been in and out of the lineup. You got
after the Eagles game, kind of bristled at the idea that receivers were on different pages from Patrick Mahomes. And then after the Packers game, he was like, yeah, they're not really on the same page. And then today he was asked about the missed receiver connections and said, well, it's just about being on the same page with each other. I talked about the Sky Moore interception a little bit, and then the MVS misread there. Andy Reid said, you need to try to keep MVS in there a little more so he stays in the flow.
Well, yeah.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling has played in 58.57% of the offensive snaps this year. It's the exact same amount as Isaiah Pacheco, just for like a player that does get the ball on those snaps. Obviously, wear and tear of running back is very different, but that is still the most out of any wide receiver still this year. MVS has more snaps this year than Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, any wide receiver. He has not played fewer than 32 snaps at any point this year. His lowest snap percentage this year in a single game is 46.8%. And the Chiefs, check my notes. No, the Chiefs are the team that has said time and time again they're not worried about tightening up that receiver rotation, that having 6 or 7 receivers barring injury is actually an advantage to some extent. And Andy Reid said, well, no, we just need more MVS. And then maybe in like the last chunk of his second year in this offense, he'll figure out what direction Patrick Mahomes wants him to run. Hint, it's away from the safety.
Or when Mahomes does hit him deep and they're on the same page, he just doesn't catch it.
But if he had 6 or 7 more balls hit him in the hands,
I bet he would catch
that 8th or 9th one. I think he starts reeling him in.
I think you're probably right about that. I would like to see some other receivers get more playing time. That'd be great.
No, that'll make MVS worse, Jason.
I'd like to see Richie James. Let's see what happens with him. Can't be much worse than what they're getting from Sky Moore.
We'll make everyone worse.
Obviously, Rashee Rice, I'd like to see him play a little bit more. Kadarius Toney, like to see him play a little bit more.
I see enough of Kadarius Toney.
That's fine.
I want to see as much of Kadarius Toney as he will physically be able to provide. That's my take.
That's probably right.
Which might not be very much.
And I don't need to see as much of Sky Moore. I've not once this year have I looked at it and said, you know what? MVS isn't playing enough. Right. You probably need to find different ways to get MVS in the game, in the flow. It just looks like the flow is not there. Okay, so to your point, Josh.
Yeah.
The amount of receivers that the Chiefs have out there and how many different guys are, getting targets and things like that. It's something we've talked about a lot here. And to me, the answer is not, let's get more guys in there. But Andy Reid is essentially saying the more the guys are playing, the more in the flow of the game they are, the more on the same page they are with Patrick Mahomes. So Andy Reid is essentially saying what we had been talking about of cut off your receiver group and have 5 guys, and those are your receivers, and see if they can be in the flow and on the same page and figure that out instead of going, it's so awesome. Patrick Mahomes had 12 targets, or 12 different people got a target in this game. This is so cool. 10 different people got a reception. Awesome.
They're down 17-3 at the half.
That's great. The 49ers put up 40 points, and 5 guys got a target. Yeah, but he didn't target 11 of them or 12 of them. Yeah, he didn't do that. No, he didn't have to because Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle were balling out. That's why.
That is obviously
McCaffrey as well.
What Reid is implying there is, again, yes, the thing that we've been saying would actually be good for the receivers. But even worse than that, he's out of answers. Andy Reid does not have another answer for you on wide receivers.
Or just out of answers he wants to give.
We can ask and ask and ask, but that's right. I mean, at the podium, Andy Reid has gone full circle. He has said we need more receivers. He has said we need fewer receivers to get more snaps. We need to see more from Rashee Rice. We've seen plenty from Rashee Rice. Like, he has hit every button. He has pulled every lever when he is asked about wide receivers. And this is maybe in a weird way like the final piece, or at least the most recent piece of evidence that he has nothing else to tell you, because there's nothing else to say. MVS doesn't look like a functional NFL wide receiver this year. That can't be really talked around. You take him off the field, put him on the field more. His snap count has come down a little bit in the last few weeks. Not much, but a little bit. Which is Andy Reid taking him off the field because he thinks that's better than having him on the field more, which is the opposite of what he said today. It's just, it feels like a little bit of a white flag. Like, next week, Andy will say, no, we just need to get more guys involved. That's what it'll be, because he said everything. Group's not very good.
I wanted to look as I was joking about whatever the 49ers had, and I said, they've targeted 5 guys. In that game, Brock Purdy, who threw for 314 yards, had a 148 quarterback rating. 5 guys got a target in that game. 5 guys: McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings. That's it. 5 guys got a target in that game.
I don't think that's changing. I mean, that's been the case even when Tyreek was here.
I mean,
they're spreading the ball around. They're not afraid to give it to, who's the termite who almost got a touchdown in the Super Bowl against the 49ers?
Darwin Thompson.
The termite? Yeah, I think that's what Mitch called him, the termite.
That rules.
He was running on Tulsa time at one point in that Houston Texans game.
Everybody is going to get a fair share.
Well, I hope
but yeah,
so.
it feels like he's on different pages about the receivers being on different pages.
Yeah, eight targets for the Chiefs players in this one.
He's on different pages from himself. He's used different pages in the last 3 days.
Shouldn't use pages anymore.
Yeah, just open up the.
Well, what are you
Mac
doing?
Like a notes app?
Well, actually, I'm looking at pages right now.
Pages. Yeah, pages.
This is every single game book for the Chiefs this year. So I got it all right here.
There was
every single one. So
there was a
pages.
really good little infographic that somebody did. I'm trying to find the specific thing, but it was actually looking at the entire NFL in terms of target share for a certain amount of players.
Yeah.
And once they expanded it, I believe, to 4, the Niners had the largest target share to their top 4 guys in football by a pretty solid margin, and that makes a lot of sense. The Chiefs, on the other hand, I believe once they got to 3 or 4, we're very near the bottom. I'll try to find that here by the next segment at least.
Yeah. The Eagles had a number of other players get targets, but only 5 players got more than 1 target in that game for the Eagles, and that was DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell. There's 2 running backs, and then it was A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins. Now you can throw in Dallas Goedert when he's back, but 5 players for the Eagles getting more than 1 target in a game, and 2 of them are running backs. 13 targets to A.J. Brown and 11 targets to Devontae Smith. Yeah, that sounds about right. And I would love to see that each and every game of how many targets to Kelsey and Rashee Rice, and then mix in here and there with other guys, because they don't have a consistent guy after that you would say, get that guy 5 or 6 targets in a game. If somebody's having an awesome game or there's some mismatch that you were exploiting or something like that, that's fine. Or if it's Pacheco getting 5 or 6 targets a game, I'm good with that too. Just if he's getting like 12, 13 touches, in a particular game, maybe 12, 13 carries and like 5 or 6 touches, although, I'd like to keep him healthy throughout the season. It is getting late in the season now, so it is going to be, getting closer to go time, but he does have a shoulder contusion, won't practice
Desperation
today.
time. This team needs to play with their hair on fire a little bit on Sunday. And if they don't, if you drop another one, you're scoreboard watching in the AFC West.
They ain't getting
right?
number
Remember
one
in October, we were like, it's over. God, why would you even consider the AFC West? They've been placed out of that division. They're not even grouped with those other 3 teams. That's how far over it is. We all said that, and now maybe not.
I certainly said that.
Yeah, I remember.
Nailed it. Although, still could be right.
Still could be right.
Broncos have, they're on the road at the Chargers. So, I mean, the Chargers, put 2 field goals on the board against the Patriots. It's a great defense. Who's to say they won't put 3 field goals on the board against the Broncos?
Could happen.
I mean, Broncos may lose against
There's no
LA.
team if you're the Chiefs at this point, you can look past. The rest of the schedule, certainly, probably anywhere in the NFL.
No, I agree with that. Absolutely. We've talked about I think the common theme over the last few weeks moving forward is, that margin for error is not there anymore.
There should be no more 37-17 predictions. It shouldn't happen.
I know I haven't done it in a while. Maybe that's the problem.
Every prediction should be Chiefs lose by a field goal.
37-17 is my prediction coming up on Friday for the Chiefs and the Bills. So you'll hear that prediction at ADA coming up on Fridays. We'll be there. Cannot wait for that. One of my favorite remotes that we have. And we are not allowing Mick in the building. That's a rule.
We'll let him do it from
because I
that
stole
front.
a bunch of stuff?
Yes,
that is the only
reason.
Yeah.
That is the exact reason.
And we frowned upon that.
Yeah, apparently. It's like, we're giving you all these discounted items. And Mick's like, yeah, it's going to be really discounted for me.
Exactly.
Right.
The problem is Mick decided to take it literally. To double on, he took it. He literally took it. It's like okay. So Sam Hoppin on Twitter had this target share graph that's very interesting. I'll simplify it because a lot of data. It's better to look at up close.
That is the worst.
But the very
Looks
top,
like my daughter's abstract painting.
the very tip. I'm going to say this is my background. It's beautiful. The very top layer here is the 49ers, who are putting I guess 85% of their target share into 4 players. It is Ayuk, Kittle, Samuel, and McCaffrey in that order. I don't know what they did. I don't think they counted games that players didn't play in for injury, but regardless. Then at the very, very, very bottom, 32 out of 32 in terms of, again, targets going to your top 4 weapons, The Chiefs are last. They are 32nd with Kelsey, Rice, Watson, and Pacheco being their 1 through 4.
MVS isn't there.
It's less than 60% of the targets have gone to their top 4 weapons. So, here, fun math, everybody. More than half of the Chiefs' targets have gone away from their top 3 weapons, a number that the Niners are above 60, and even getting Pacheco in there. There's a ton of targets going to not even tertiary weapons 4, 5, 6, 7, and that hasn't been working as an offensive strategy.
18 of the 30 targets went to Rice, Kelsey, and Pacheco. I'm not good at what the math is for that. But
I can tell you.
18 of the
That's
30
60%.
targets.
Is that exactly 60?
For those 3, though. That's only 3, though. So
that's easy math.
Which game is that? You're saying
that's against the Packers.
Yes, this is through the season. The
I know.
numbers I'm giving.
I know. I was just looking
we're
at
on
seeing,
the upward track there.
I was just seeing if they are starting to be on the upward track of if they are starting to limit, the reps and things like that.
The Raiders game would look similar for all the targets that went to Rice and Kelsey. So no, I think these last 2 weeks have made these numbers look better for the Chiefs at this point.
Yeah, but it's not enough to really make much of a dent because it's only a couple of weeks.
And not enough to necessarily fix the offense. It's just something they've been narrowing a little bit.
22 of 32 targets in the game against the Raiders went to Rice, Kelsey, Pacheco. Again, math, you guys do it. I'm not sure.
11/16.
You're really good at math for someone who hates it around sports. That is an interesting.
You're looking at Mick Schaefer, by the way.
I just divided both by 2 there, so that wasn't much.
I wasn't listening.
Cool.
So it's basically 5/8, right? So
it's 69%.
Nice, dude. Hell yeah, good work.
Yeah. So the last 2 weeks, you've had 69%, and what'd you say, 60%?
60.
Of the last 2 weeks. So I mean, that is shaving it down in terms of spreading it out
I feel
to
like
how many
the
different
outlier
people.
there, the one changing is Rashee Rice, right? He's the one getting more targets, upping that number.
9 against the Packers and 10 against the Raiders. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 targets a game for Rashee Rice, great. And if you've got to, target Kelsey more, he only had 5 targets. I think that's got to go up. Look, if I know that there are times when it's like, well, they're guarding Kelsey, they're doing different things. There are also times when it feels like Mahomes is just staring down Kelsey and nothing happens. There are also times where Mahomes throws it to MVS deep on 2nd down and 8, and Kelsey's wide open, waving his hands 15 yards down the field, and then he throws the ball, and Kelsey's like putting his hands up as if like the ball's coming, and then watches it over his head, incomplete, and like, hey man, I mean, it's Kelsey. Like, I'm not a fan of Mahomes just staring Kelsey down. But if Kelsey's not going to be guarded, I'm a fan of him getting the ball.
And push through them, quote unquote, taking Kelsey away or taking somebody away. I'm sure the opponents the 49ers are playing know about Samuel, know about McCaffrey, and are trying their best to double team them, double cover them, take them away. But the 49ers have pushed through that. Okay, they're our best players. We're still going to get the ball in maybe not as much space as we would like, but they're our best players.
I want...
they just have like 4 arguments for best players, and the Chiefs have exactly one.
Maybe it won't work out well. Maybe Rashee Rice will prove that he doesn't have the ability and talent yet to fill the role, but I know there's 19 targets the last 2 games for Rashee Rice, but I would like to see that go up. I would like to see more of a quote-unquote chance for Rashee Rice. Mahomes is the quarterback I would choose 100 times out of 100.
Oh, I thought you mean out of the quarterback room for the Chiefs. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. Not Gabbard.
We'll see. 100 times out of 100 of any player that's available. Okay, so I preface this by saying this is not to say that, Patrick Mahomes, et cetera. He is not perfect. Unfortunately, sometimes he needs to play perfect for this team offensively to look pretty good. But on the 2nd down and 6, which ended up being a Creed Humphrey hold, Rashee Rice was running free in the end zone, waving his arms, and Mahomes decided to tuck and run. And Rashee Rice was open before Mahomes had pressure. Yeah. He just immediately looked at the offensive line and then started running. It ends up being a hold. That's a touchdown. And I told Josh, watching it again, I said, if that's DeAndre Hopkins or number 10, Tyreek Hill, the ball's immediately going to him. But for whatever reason, it's number 4, and Mahomes isn't thinking that he's going to – but he's so wide open. He's waving his arms as he's running across the back of the end zone.
Well, and 2, it's okay, where is he at in the progression? Maybe it's underneath to
right.
to Travis on that side,
But
and
is
the
he-
next one Sky Moore on that same side, and then you're supposed to look back
Is
to
he in the progression
Rasheed.
before tucking and running? I hope so. But again, that's part of what makes Mahomes special. He saw an opening and said, "I'm going to go pick it up." It ended up being a ticky-tack hold on Creed Humphrey. It would have been 1st and goal at the 2, and we'd have been talking about it as a blip on the radar that, well, Mahomes still made a play. Yeah, it wasn't a Rasheed, right? They scored a touchdown, etc. The play from the 33-yard line, the first play when the Chiefs got to the 33 after MVS was pulled out of bounds, which should have been a clock running. They stopped the clock. The next play is when Mahomes threw it down the field. There was like 4 guys there to MVS, and it was incomplete or whatever. Rasheed Rice was running down the sideline on the left side unguarded. But Mahomes throws it right down the middle to 4 guys and MVS. Like, to me, like, again, if that's DeAndre Hopkins, one, he's probably not unguarded. But all Rasheed Rice did was an out and up, and Kelsey was underneath. So the cornerback over there saw the out, stayed there, and when Rasheed Rice ran up the sideline, the cornerback stayed there because Kelsey was starting to release. The safety was moving to the middle of the field. Mahomes has such a laser arm. He fires that on a dart. I think Rasheed Rice either scores or gets pushed out of bounds at like the 10. I don't know what it is, but we haven't seen Rasheed Rice be used as a guy that when he was drafted, we said, this guy has a rare ability to make contested catches. One time was a back shoulder throw, and that was one they practiced a lot. I'm talking about progression. Christian Watson is running with Joshua Williams and Jordan Love going, I'm going to throw it high and see if he can make a play.
We've seen it this year. He doesn't like to throw into coverage much. He doesn't like to
Agreed.
throw when a guy's covered, and a lot of these guys have been covered, so it's been a lack of opportunity, I think.
And I think, Jordan Love gets pressured, and he's got one-on-one with Christian Watson and Joshua Williams, who Williams has pretty good coverage, and Love says, I'm going to throw it high to the back of the end zone, and I'll give my guy a chance. I don't know if Mahomes makes that play or not, but I know Mahomes makes thousands of other plays, so that's why I prefaced with, I'll take Mahomes every single time. But I also think that's where Mahomes after the game or on Wednesdays is saying, yeah, I've got to, do some things different in my progressions of, decisions on where I'm going with the football. I think the miss to Travis Kelsey when he was wide open over the middle is one he was talking about after the game when he talked about the miscommunication with MVS, and he was like, well, we were taking what's there, probably should have just stayed with that, because he probably saw that Kelsey was unguarded and just running in the middle of the field. There are a couple of those things that have happened. I don't know. He's not playing great football. He's still the best in the world, but he's not playing great football either. There's something off with the offense right now for a number of different reasons. There's optimism still from me, because there's generally always that, okay, some of these things start getting worked out. Rasheed Rice was wide open in the end zone. That should be 7. Instead, it turned out to be 3. Okay, Travis Kelsey. Mahomes is going to take that way more often than not. The throw to Sky Moore as opposed to handing it off to Isaiah Pacheco. Okay, as the season goes on, I don't know how often Mahomes is going to throw an interception to a guy in a one-on-one who's going to make that play. Maybe he doesn't, and they go and win the game. Kelsey fumbles at the 8-yard line against the Eagles. Mahomes throws it to Justin Watson in the end zone when he should have led Justin Watson a little bit more to the left. And even he said, he was like, just a bad, I should have sent it over there. Mahomes isn't a guy that does that very often. And when it's go time in December, I'm gonna bet on Mahomes. I'm gonna bet on number 15 that he'll figure it out, and this offense will look better. I don't know that they will be some consistent, humming machine, but there are so many opportunities that are left on the field, it feels like.
Yeah, no, and it needs to be go time here. I mean, if I had to characterize the offense's problems, I would say it's a lack of being able to overcome adversity, because they're always committing penalties. They did in 2020, they did in 19, they did last year when they went Super. They're always committing penalties, right? They're always making mistakes. You're always going to have rookies or non-rookies dropping passes. There's always turnovers. But for some reason that holding call on 2nd and 8 can't overcome, right? That drop pass on 1st down, they're not overcoming, and then they blame it afterward. Before they'd overcome that. Even those turnovers, they overcome it with possessions late in the game. We've seen the last 2 losses. We're just going to go score here, and we're going to cover up all these warts with this one big Patrick Mahomes Band-Aid. And we just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened.
They do sell Patrick Mahomes Band-Aids, too.
I'm not even hurt. I have 3 on right now.
Yeah. I had a Band-Aid the other day, a Princess Band-Aid on my hand.
Nice.
That was his first Band-Aid. It was bleeding profusely. I'm like, I need a Band-Aid.
Hands
okay, there we go.
bleed.
Let's go. Bell. Turns out Bell it is. We'll take a time out. Dylan ringing the bell for us to take a break. More so next. Some Major League Baseball news with the Royals. They have traded Dylan Coleman to, where is he going? The
Houston?
Astros. Now, he will take a random route to get there. It'll be sort of a wild trek for Dylan Coleman to land in Houston, but he's going to get there. He'll probably get there quickly. He just doesn't know where it's actually going to go. He has been traded to the Astros for minor league pitcher. So there you go. Hot stove going on.
They made their Rule 5 selection also a little bit. I wasn't sure if you had that there.
Oh, did they?
They sure did.
Adley Rutschman?
They selected Matt Sauer, a former second-round pick in 2017 of the Yankees. 2 Yankees pitchers went 1-2 in the Rule 5 draft, whatever that means.
Well, they're just stacked with pitching, man.
So,
there
former
you go.
second-round pick, if you want to make it sound fun.
Sure. Let's make it sound fun. Let's have some fun.
Rules 1 through 4 need a better PR team for their drafts.
Never hear about them.
Never hear about
them. It's like
I think
when you
one
get
of those is the actual draft.
Is that Rule 1? Is that right?
I think one of the rules is the actual draft, right? So I mean, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. I haven't looked at all the rules of Rule 1. Remember there was the Dan Saliamu was like the biggest Plan B free agent back in the early 90s. Like Plan B free agency. Dan Saliamu, what a huge addition in Plan B free agency. I just remember that being like a common theme and term that was used constantly. Dan Saliamu, remember, one of the biggest Plan B free agents that landed around the NFL, and that was the Chiefs went and grabbed him. I'm like, I don't even know what Plan B free agency is. Is it, you I don't know, made a decision drunkenly on one night, and you had to then go get another free agent, Plan B? I'm not sure what the free agent is.
Rule 1 is the right.
Preparations A through G just didn't work.
I'm going to call this.
So we landed on Preparation H.
Preparation H.
Rule 1 is the right to free agency, and Rule 2 is the right to throw arms. That's just what it says.
That's pretty good.
That's odd.
I thought Rule 2 was right to bear arms.
I thought you were going to.
You can wear sleeves, but you don't have to.
Right. I thought you were going to look up Plan B free agency.
I'll go to that one next.
That was.
Plan B is a different thing these days.
That's why I said it was a drunken mistake on the first free agent, and now all of a sudden you're like, well, you get news. What's that? Oh, my God. Well, is Dan Saliamu out there? Let's see if we can go the Plan B route with a defensive lineman. But, yeah, so the Royals, Rule 5, Matt Sauers, is that what you said?
Matt Sauers.
Matt
So
Sauers,
that sure
very
looks
good.
like how it's probably
Very good.
pronounced.
Very good.
Sauer, sorry, singular, just one of
That's
them.
fine, I don't care. The Royals also.
But they won the lottery, dude. What are you so down about?
They won the 6th place lottery.
Shocker the Royals weren't lucky when it comes to baseball.
It's the dumbest freaking rule, man.
Made the podium.
Calmer than you, bro.
Calmer than you are. Be cooler if you did. I mean, they go from number 2 to number 6 with the lottery because
You really had faith in them at number 2.
Well, I just think
number 6.
it just I was absolutely in the first hour. Man yells at clouds because I've hated the lottery since they instituted it. I thought it was dumb then. It continues to be dumb. It's just as dumb now, although I'm more annoyed at how dumb it is. It's one thing for the Royals to drop from 5 to 8 last year in a 5-player draft that you would get a franchise-type player in the top 5. And, well, of course, they were supposed to pick 5th. And then this being, it's like a 3-player draft this year, and the Royals are going to get, they're one of the 3 worst records. They get, oh, wait, you're going to pick 6th because of the.
Stop tanking, Royals.
Yeah, tanking. The Guardians with a lower payroll than the
Right,
Royals
yeah.
to start the season had the number 1 pick.
And what was their record last year?
They were 76 and 86, and they sold at the trade deadline. That's the other thing. Major League Baseball, we want to stop tanking. Stop tanking. We got to figure out this whole tanking thing. Tanking is bad for baseball. Now let's spend a week of every second at Major League Baseball Network talking about the trade deadline of teams that are going to be tanking. We're going to trade our best players for the future health of our organization, which means we'll probably lose more games by trading these really good players for prospects down the line. No. We're not tanking. This is just strategy. We're not trying to lose. Really? Because you're worse now. Major League Baseball celebrates the trade deadline, which is teams tanking to help out the long term of their team. But tanking over the season is viewed as some bad thing, as if Major League Baseball has a tanking problem. They have a small payroll problem.
Yeah.
They have a payroll disparity problem. They have a Major League Baseball TV network, regional network problem. That's what they have the problem with. They don't have a problem in tanking. I mean, the Astros would still be a bad organization and a cheap team if they didn't have all those top draft picks that then they invested in, because now they're winning. They also have a lot more money in their TV network, regardless, whatever. But it never made sense, and it was never going to stop tanking. It was just, I don't know. They've done a couple of things that have hurt the Royals, in my opinion. Adding the draft pool money has hurt the Royals, because the Royals were actually one of the teams that was spending more money in the draft. And now, well, you can't do that. You got to spend whatever's allotted. And now the lottery system, those two things. Allow them to trade draft picks then. Because you know what? You trade a pick for, or trade a player for a draft pick, Salvador Perez for a team's future first rounder. Yeah, okay. Now we're talking about making real differences that can take place. Like, you institute the lottery, let's trade some picks. Let's do that. But Royals got screwed. The Reds should have been picking 13th. They picked second.
I feel like the Reds have at least a little bit earned it by like just them being maybe one of the quietly most downtrodden fan bases in all of American sports. Like, Reds fans are really sad all the time, so this might be something.
The losses, the top 6 teams, losses of the top 6 teams in drafting. Number 6 Royals 106, White Sox 101, A's 112, Rockies 103, Reds 82 and 80, Guardians 86 losses. They're picking 1 and 2. I was talking to Dylan. It'd be like the Bengals barely missing the playoffs and then picking third because they won the lottery. Oh, we'd be pretty pissed about it, because the Chiefs ain't going to be in the lottery anytime soon. You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Again, I'm just man yelling at clouds.
I do think there's a little interesting difference between baseball, the NFL, and NBA, because that happens in the NBA. The Spurs are just bad enough. They get another generational talent. It's the third time they've gotten to do this process. But
I don't have an NBA team in
well,
town.
no, but I think it's different, because I think Major League Baseball is the most afraid of tanking, in large part for something you mentioned earlier, that they made rule changes for the 162, the play clock, the ghost on second, all of those things, right? Those are things for the day-to-day viewing product, and if you have a team that is openly tanking, you're going to have 90 meaningless games at least. And look, the Royals had 90 meaningless games this year trying to win, so that's not perfect.
Air quotes, trying
but
to win.
Trying. In the NBA, tanking works, so you almost have to throw some randomness at it, because in the NBA, you get 1-1, your franchise changes. It
Immediately,
really
too.
Immediately.
It's that you won one in the Major League Baseball draft. He might be 17.
Exactly.
You'll see him in 4 years.
Exactly.
Hopefully everybody's still around. They won't be, from players to managers to front office. They won't be.
And in the NFL, it doesn't work to that effect. And the Texans played themselves out of the 1 spot and got C.J. Stroud. And that's obviously a very narrow example. But in the NFL, there's so much chaos built in. Also, when you're only playing 17 regular season games, you beat a bad team, and it's too hard to tank all the way to 1-1. They didn't tank for Tua successfully back in the day. That didn't actually work. And then every step along, you knew it was going to be. It's going to be Andrew Luck. It's going to be RG3. But who's actually going to get there? And again, the Colts got bad at a lucky time. But the NFL embraces the horse race also. It is a race to the bottom. You'll get playoff standings and tankathon rankings and all of that. Baseball is afraid, but this isn't actually helping. In the NBA, you almost have to do it. In the NFL, you definitely don't need to. And baseball is just button mashing still.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you'll get it right. I mean, the Bears chose Trubisky over Mahomes.
That's right.
And Justin Fields over C.J. Stroud.
That's right.
I mean,
and
so
in the NBA, most of the time, 1-1's probably the right pick. Top 3 is usually the right top 3. There are exceptions, but it is way more scientific in the NBA.
And part of, not every prospect's going to work out. And part of the issue with the Royals, and I totally understand the frustration because I echo that, is the development has been lacking from the Royals. So you could say, well, even if they drafted somebody, is that guy going to be any good? But you can't sort of dismiss the Royals going from number 2 pick to number 6 pick and then champion how awesome Bobby Witt is. Because if the lottery was that year, the Royals wouldn't have Bobby Witt on their team. They had the second worst record. They picked second. They got Bobby Witt or Adley Rutschman. They got one of the two. And Bobby Witt got more MVP votes this year than Adley Rutschman did. And Adley Rutschman's team made the playoffs. So, I mean, that certainly, helps. The Royals, since they drafted Bobby Witt, in the 4 drafts since then, there have been 24 picks taken in front of them. So picking 4th and 7th and 8th and 9th, 24 picks taken in front of them. Looking at MLB.com's postseason prospect rankings now. After the season is over, now they're fresh prospect rankings. 2 of those 24 picks have graduated to the major leagues. So there are 22 players that can and are eligible to be ranked
In the
on the
top
prospect
what?
list.
Top 100?
Out of the top 100. Yeah. There are 22 eligible players.
How many do I think are in there?
Well, I'll just tell you.
Well, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, sure. Out of the
That's more
22.
fun. It's never as high as you think.
It's never as low as you think.
I'll say 16.
Well, 17 in the top 100, 16 in the top 50.
Wow.
16 of the 22 are in the top 50 that have been drafted ahead of the Royals. And if you take the top 50 and you eliminate the international players and a player that was signed after the first 5 rounds of 2020, so it technically wasn't
Did the
drafted.
Royals, any of their picks going one pick beyond in those years, did they have any in the top 100?
They don't have anybody in the top 100 at all. So that's where you come into development. You can go, well, yeah, the development wouldn't help them either. So there are 37 of the top 50 players that were draft eligible over the last 4 years or so. 16 of the 37 that would be there are in the top 50 of
guess.
players that were drafted in front of the Royals.
You did great, Mick.
Thanks, guys.
You didn't validate Mick enough, so he catch my chair. Just so you know.
Right, but that matters.
Like validate me more.
Mick, you're doing such a great job.
You're not getting Jackson Holiday at number 8. You're getting him at number 1. You know.
Hashtag Stillwater.
Hashtag cool. But I mean, it's part of it. Like it's I find I've seen a number of different people that are like, oh, they picked 6th. Who cares? You know, figure it out. Draft better. Yeah, sure. Well, you picked 4th that year. Draft better. Look at Rushman and Bobby Witt. Look how awesome they are. Figure it out. Find somebody. Angels found Mike Trout. Yeah, because everybody knew Mike Trout was going to be Mike Trout, and that's why he ended up being that guy. Sometimes that guy is just amazing. Matt McClain.
Trout's turning into the
Tom Brady.
Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I see what you're saying.
that's maybe your only example, in the last 25
Scott,
years.
Scott Pioli.
You can win without an outstanding quarterback. Brad Johnson.
Scott Pioli going the quarterback. You guys keep talking about there are other players on this team. It's not just the quarterback and Tom Brady in New England. Scott.
Turns out it was.
I think we were closer to that by asking you about the quarterback. You guys keep talking about the quarterback. I mean, like, it's that big of a deal, guys. Chill out, quarterback. We'll figure that out. I'm getting rappers in the stairwell right now. I can't find a quarterback. There are a lot of things going on currently. But, I mean, there is sort of correlation causation, or a connection, I should say, in the higher draft picks. You can find them elsewhere. You can absolutely do that. You can find them in international free agents. You know, you can certainly do that as well. In fact, 3 of the top 10 are international free agent signings. And this list isn't the end-all, be-all. Just as a reference of if you slide back to number 6 as opposed to number 2, the level of player drops. Yeah. And then you go, well, the Royals, just got to develop. Well, I bet it's easier developing Bobby Witt than it is developing Josh Brisco.
Well, sorry you took that stray.
Yeah, it felt unnecessary. I'd kick Jason's chair if I could reach it. But
My bad. It's easier developing Bobby Witt
If you're
than
more
it is
athletic,
me.
you get there.
I don't have
You're better at baseball.
I don't have
If you were
range.
Bobby Witt, you'd be here, but
Yeah.
you're not.
That's
Okay? And you didn't get a chance to draft him because you picked 3rd, idiot.
If the Royals are interested, I actually do. I do think I'm
No.
draft eligible still, so no one's taken me
No,
yet.
I just, maybe they'll get the stud at number 6. They'll figure it out. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Zach Greinke wasn't the number 1 overall pick, and turned out to be a pretty damn fine selection by Allard Baird. So good for him. Also, Herc wants to know why he's trading all those good players.
Yeah.
Anything? Nothing? No left? All right, let's ask some questions. Sorry about that, Allard. I thought that was a joke. I thought you'd have fun with the fact that everybody hates you. Just my bad. I'll move right along.
With that now.
We'll take a time out. We'll come back and wrap up the show. I do want to talk a little bit about Wanya Morris, as Seth Kaiser and Matt Lane
Is he
wrote
growing
about.
from a boy to a man?
I love you.
I don't even need to be here for this next segment.
Yeah, that's we'll
Hopefully he hasn't come to the end of the road.
No, he has not done that. So there you go. We will take a time out.
How do you say goodbye in this
Hard to say
segment?
goodbye to this segment. Damn it. I was getting there. And now we're going. Josh, what was that? Here we go.
Radio.
Mick, here we go.
Mick, radio. It's one more segment of radio, Mick.
Radio.
Radio. Ray.
Dio.
Ray.
Dio. Oh. Ray. Dio.
Give me an R.
An
A.
A.
D-I-O.
I can't spell it, but
How many letters are in the word radio?
U-N-D, rebound.
How many letters in the word rebound?
7.
Awesome.
7.
Hey, what happens if Jerome Tang coached Josh Allen? What would happen in overtime?
Oh, he'd be great.
Jerome Tang is 6-0, and Josh Allen's 0-6.
Wow.
No. Jerome Tang's 9-0, buddy.
Jerome Tang's 9-0, and
Overtang.
I love that line, by the way. Jerome Tang 9-0 in overtang, and Josh Allen is 0-6 in over. I didn't even get the ball.
I had a Johnny Furphy 3-pointer against UMKC, and I said that's an Australian taking down kangaroos, by the way.
Whoa! Wow!
Yeah.
And people, they watch me for free.
Well,
Wow, that's on terrestrial television.
Yeah.
I think
You just turn your receiver on.
Dickinson was also doing some hunting, some hunter.
Oh, yeah.
With some of those, physical play there. And then not only chucking the guy in midair, then walking over
stand
to
over him.
to
Yeah.
stand next to his torso, but not look down. I'm not trying to start a fight or
That would
anything.
be taunting.
I'm just going to stand here while this happens.
Until Fast came over and decided to give him a little forearm
That's right.
shiver.
It's like, Hunter, it's you and Casey. Look, do that on Saturday, crowd's going to cheer you.
Yeah.
Do it on Saturday, crowd's going to love you. Do it against UMKC, Kansas City. I don't know if the crowd enjoys that. I don't know if KU fans are watching that going, yeah, Hunter. I think it'd probably be like, chill.
I'm sure.
Saturday, bleep yeah, do it again.
I'm sure he gets leaned on and fouled so much more than anybody else out there. and
Probably.
so eventually it boils over at some point.
Yeah, probably. My line was the tweet after the K-State game was over that Tyler Perry starring in Medea hits the game winner.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was not a good one. I was
Well,
just saying that
fair
was
to
my
mine,
line.
though, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the guy took down a kangaroo, It's what he does. There it goes. Missouri not in action until KU. Missouri taking the entire week to prepare
Just
for KU.
getting ready.
That's
Get
right.
availability tomorrow, so we'll hear from Dennis Gates and the gang. I'm going to be there. They're dusting me off for a Saturday to report. So I'm going to be at Allen Fieldhouse.
Do you want me to talk to somebody about that?
Yes,
That
I don't want to
can't-
go.
That's
I don't
insane.
like to go to sporting events.
Give me the sports director's number. I'll
7.
give them a piece of my mind.
7.
His number is number
Yes,
7.
7.
That's right. Wow, you're going to be there in Allen Fieldhouse. I meant to look up on KenPom to see what the spread is for that game.
Is it out
because-
yet? Usually it's like sometimes like the day before, right?
Yeah, it'll be that day.
Okay, but
the spread
when he
isn't
has-
out, but KenPom's pretty freaking close on his
11. I'm going to say
13.
Close to 11.
78-65.
I think it's.
So
I think it's 2 away from 11.
I don't know which way, but one of the ways.
Yeah. So what do you think it'll open up at 11?
Probably.
Usually the line is pretty freaking close to what KenPom. So I would guess probably 12.5 or 13. And I'd probably take KU minus the points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to explain
They'll be
that
focused
to
in for that one. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like last night when I got to 8 points with like a few minutes left.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine.
I guess, though. I mean, these
think
guys
they'll be
know
okay.
about the rivalry. Bill Self does.
Yeah. Weird they've known about the last couple of years for some reason. So
That's true, yeah.
I mean,
Or they just won those games.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to know about the rivalry, all right? It's Anthony Peeler ain't walking through that door right now. And if he does, he's going to be old and decrepit.
Even at 50?
I'd take him.